when you fat finger the wrong button. Yeah, that's what that was called. Anyway, everything would go wrong went wrong this morning, so I don't know what's going on with Algrid. He never turned up. 15 minutes late, so apologies for that. I went and very quickly grabbed Daily Noob at about 6 o'clock, and he was kind enough to help me fill in. I'm not very good on my own. I need someone to bounce off. So thank you for joining me, Daily Noob. I do appreciate that.
No worries, man.
But yeah, maybe I need to have a backup more frequently. But Algrid doesn't normally drop out. That's the first time he's not turned up on me. So I hope he's okay. It's not something that he tends to do in all the years we've been doing this. So yeah, obviously something's happened, or yeah, let's hope he's not in pain or something wrong with one of his family members. So yeah, I hope there's nothing drastically wrong there. Anyway, I will get the bot up and running, and I'll get you on the questions for me, Noob, if you don't mind.
Yeah, not a problem, man.
All right, it's not ready yet.
Watch me try and dyslexic my way through this.
It's fine. All right, bot is ready, so I'm just going to do it on the other end. 2 seconds. I'm not enjoying having the one screen again. It's I need to get another screen back. It's driving me nuts having to try and do everything on the one screen at the moment, but we'll get that sorted shortly. All right, bot has started. Your questions will start coming through. Thank you for that, guys. So as usual, this stream will kind of wrap up when the questions wrap up. Oh, thank you for the raid, Daily Noob. I appreciate that. It's good that you're here, and
no worries.
You sent yourself here. But other than that, yeah. Oh, and thank you for the membership Stitchblades that gave us a membership while we weren't even live. But thank you. Yeah. So I guess today we'll there's one thing you want to look at, because it is very quiet at the moment in regards to Star Citizen. Even last week when we did ISC, the only thing that was any good in that ISC and the whole thing was the update of the fire propagation. Did you happen to catch last week's ISC?
Yeah, I did, and the fire looked phenomenal. It was so good. So I'm really excited for that. Yeah, really excited for that.
We've got to imagine, and I'm hoping too, is not just on the inside of ships, but like fire in general. Like can we have wildfires out on the planet and things like that? Eventually, I reckon there'll be a planet where there are wildfires and things like that. So I'm thinking that fire tech will go further than we're expecting it to go, hopefully.
Oh, well, as if you wouldn't utilize something they've spent so long on other things. Yeah. You know, well, I'm hoping if we set fire to like some shrubs on a planet, it just spreads, takes off. That'll be cool.
Yep. I'm sure. Well, can you imagine massive battles and there's like a wildfire at the same time? Like I can see that being a thing at some point as well. So yeah,
phenomenal.
Pretty nuts. So yeah,
just going through and burning someone's fucking crop on their Endeavor because you're a prick. I'd do that.
Thank you for the Prime sub, Liquid Wayne. Appreciate it. Or is it Liquid Wayne 0? I've got to be put all the numbers and digits in. But yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe a part of that in your questions today, guys. It is a little quiet. I know we're coming up to Ship Showdown. We wanted to do an episode last week, but then that PTU wave stuff came up. Me, Agri, and Algrid really wanted to look at that and talk about that because we knew it was going to turn into drama, and we had to sit there objectively and look back at it. And it's kind of hard to take yourself out of something, especially when you're so passionate about it. And I realize what they're trying to do, as you saw in the episode that we probably did this week. So yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. You can put that in your statements as well and questions as you put them in. Is where is Algrid? Let's try to think of the craziest thing Algrid is doing, and then he can read the comments and.
He's chained to a bed by all these UU girls.
Yes.
Can't get out.
Or the UU girls running amok, and he has to.
Just imagine him running around Sydney with a large net trying to catch all these UU girls.
Yeah.
Get them back.
They got out of the pen. He's got to get them back in. What do they call it? Like the sheepdog, and he's got to like
drawing some parallels between him and Quagmire all of a sudden.
Yes. Giggity. Right. Yeah.
I can't see. Oh no, I got the questions now. Cool.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, give us a question, and we'll kick it off because yeah, as I said, we're hoping for ISC to come out. But it's been very dry. We might talk about some Ship Showdown stuff, but there's not a lot to really talk about. As I said, I went away on a holiday for an entire month, and I was surprised by how little happened while I was away. Like, I came back to Algrid, and I basically said, so you're telling me in an entire month they had 2 variants of the Cutter and a line of code for the Titan, and that was it. That's all he had to tell me in the whole thing. So yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So our first question is by Monster Avery. So we've got, I think the 890 has a chance. Kind of want it. But if it gets a final 4, an LTI pack might be the cheapest LTI option for it.
They don't tend to do LTI for the ship Showdown. That's not a specific thing, but and it's over.
I had someone mention a similar thing earlier. It was Lighthawk. So shout out to Lighthawk. He had an extremely similar question, which said, if they did get into the top 4 with that, would they release a CCU for it, like they usually do for the ships that get into the top 4? And I pressed X to doubt, because the other ships usually already are available to CCU 2 when they get there.
Well, there's a legality of it now because it's over 1,000, and there's a law in the States about money laundering and stuff like that. I'll double check. I could be wrong. It might be under 1,000 still, but I remember it's like 1,050 now. But someone will correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But yeah. If they added a ship to it and yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. They have done CCUs before in the past. That is correct. It is a tough one. It's definitely a tough one. But as far as I'm aware, look, I'll look it up real quick. But as far as I'm aware, the ship. I just realised I'm not showing my screen to you, am I?
No, but that's fine. I'm watching on Twitch.
That's making it very difficult. No, I'll fix that for you right now. All the things that went wrong this morning, you know. There we go.
You're right.
Should be able to see now. I think it's this one that I normally look at. No, it's not. It's one of these. I keep moving them around on me. Yeah, this one. All right. So, 890J. Current price for the 890J is $950. Okay, no, that technically legally gives them a leeway. So yeah, they could technically get away with it, but as of right now, the most expensive LTI ship is actually the Polaris and the A2 at $750. For some reason, we've never got one for the Pioneer at $850. So
that's what I'm looking forward to. Holy crap!
That would be a real first time they've ever done that. I enabled an LTI token for something that costs $950. So I'm going to just do the shrug because I don't know how else to answer that. It's always just been this weird point. After $750, they get really and I don't know if it's got something to do with that $1,000 mark and in the States and you know, money laundering and stuff like that. So I honestly can't tell you what's going on there.
If they ever did release an LTI for that ship, I could see immediately when things like the Pioneer do come out, or you can't purchase the Pioneer right now with LTI as it comes out, they would 100%, like the community, I could see them banding together and making sure we could get it if that was a thing.
If we're talking about the Pioneer specifically, I think that's got a lot to do with that they kind of don't know what that's going to be. And I think that's why they kind of, after they released it, they just wasn't sure. And so, yeah. The other thing I did note, I was looking, I know you can see my screen right now. I was looking at,
his search history.
No, not that show. It's not my search history, you dick. Man, now I'm gonna have to put the screen up because you just chucked me in the deep end, you sort of a bitch. Where is it? This one. Man, I'm so disorganized today. Right. Yeah. So I was looking at submissions and I'm trying to find the thing. There's actually a thing that actually has all the latest submissions and you could filter it. I just can't find it right now. Maybe it's this one, submission archives. I'm just trying to find it. And it actually, you can actually, this looks like it. This could be it. Is it loading? There we go. And so you can actually set it from newest to like weekly top. Here we go. And you can start to see what the more popular ships are. I'll probably set it to month because that's around what we are, aren't we? So you can start to see like the ships that are up near the top. So we're definitely going to get a 600i. What the hell is that?
Corsairs.
Are they Corsairs? Oh wow! So this has all changed since I was here like the other day. The cutters up there, a couple of cutters. You've got an 890 jump, the Terrapin. So yeah, I'm actually I was actually surprised how high the Origin ships were. That kind of really surprised me. So there's definitely a lot of people out there that love their ships. The Redeemer I noticed was up there still as well, which really surprised me as well. I didn't think I thought I was a minority Redeemer lover, but apparently there's a bunch of us out there. So yeah,
all would be happy with that.
Yeah, I don't know which one of these they're going to use, but they'll have some kind of metric to how they're counting them. But I'd love to be able to know which one they're using so we can see which ones are
a lot of Lego.
Yeah, and a lot of lag I'm getting as well. But I was surprised that's not the C8R, but it's the C8X that I keep seeing repetitively. I don't know if you've noticed that. It wasn't the yeah. See, look, X. It's not the R that's up the top. It's the X.
And that's pretty mind blowing because like that C8R is just next level.
Well, I don't know what they're going to be setting it to, but as I said, I just don't see any for the R at all. So I was kind of surprised. I think I found one at some point. Man, why does it keep reloading all the time? But yeah, as you can see, there's all three Origin ships are in there. The 600i, the 400i, and the 890 jump, and then yeah, as I said, even the 100's been popping up as well. So I'm really kind of surprised. I think the 600 will definitely be in.
What do they say? 6 months? That's 12 months ago. 12 months ago. You might have to search by the actual year.
Well, that's yearly. I went to yearly top.
Monster AVs, yeah, sort for 2023.
There's no option.
Maybe
I've got yearly top.
Yeah.
I've got yearly top. So you tell me what you want to set it to.
What about under more filters? Is there something under more filters for that
more
on the left?
More filters. Here we go.
Here we go. Yeah. Say 2023 just there.
All right. 2023. View results. Bang. Okay. There we go.
There you go. Yeah, that's a bit more in line with what I've been seeing.
Yep. That's the very first one I went to as well, so I'm kind of surprised. All right, so there we go. So we've got a Terrapin, Cutter. I'm just looking at the new ones, right, and the Corsair. So, like, the MSR and the 600 don't surprise me at all, and the Carrack will be here somewhere, I'm sure. 890. Eclipse is way up there? That's kind of surprising. God, why does it keep reloading all the time? It's driving me nuts. Yeah. It's the same ships repetitively. Like medical Pisces, there we go. We got a medical Pisces. Arrow, Gladiator. Wow. Man, if the Gladiator made it into the top 10, that would blow my mind.
Got another question from you. Weepy Sleeper says, what are you most excited about in Star Citizen?
For this year? I'm believe it or not, I'm still kind of hoping for the munching to make it by the end of the year, and the star map. They've been my two big things all year because we don't really fully. Well, you tell me, noob, but we don't fully have a mining loop, and what I mean by that is we don't have every part of the mining loop. If we get munching, we're only one step away, which is component removal, for actually having the whole salvage loop.
Draining.
Sorry.
Draining fuel.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Okay, I'll give you that. Yeah, but that can be faked pretty easily compared to other things. So that's probably something they will add.
It'd be great if you had to EVA over with a big hose off the reclaimer and just like find a spot, jam it into. That'd be great.
Probably going to be a jerry can into a cargo container. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, they've got a lot of ships have like the filling like areas for staff areas, right? So if you could like EVA over with a hose and connect it to that would be very cool. I'd love that.
I think the other elephant in the room that we should probably talk about, especially why you're here, because I know you've been talking about, is Starfield. I think a lot of people are going to jump ship once that, and what I mean by jump ship is for September, everyone's just going to check out until CitizenCon hits. I think that's what a lot of people will go over to. Like, I know
it's going to go both ways.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, me and Argon have often said, you know, play other games while you're waiting for Star Citizen. So haven't picked it up yet. I'm not a single player gamer, but I did play Fallout 3, and I'm kind of sitting here going, look, I played Fallout 3. Why the hell wouldn't I play a space game of Fallout 3? You know, so I'm just not a big fan of Bethesda's engines. They tend to be, what's the polite way to say horseshit? Yeah, horseshit. That's probably the politest way I can say.
And engines? I mean engine.
Yeah, they well, see, every time this is their trick, right? They redo the renderer. So you know how Star Citizen's doing Vulkan and ray tracing and all that type of stuff, and DirectX 12. That doesn't make Crytek a new engine, so to speak. It just makes it an updated renderer. And that's exactly what Starfield does every time. They just update it to a new renderer, and they call it a whole new engine. But anyone that's played any of the games will tell you they run terribly. And what they really need to do is bite the bullet and move on to something like Unreal 5 or something like that. And there was actually rumors this week of a remake for Morrowind, and the game will work on the original engine, and you can kind of flip it over to run on Unreal 5. Now, if they can do that for an older engine, why can't they do it for the new one and just move everything over? They've obviously got the money. Like, this game has made billions at this point. $500,000 to buy a new license for an engine is a bit savage in my book. Like, to not spend that to update, like, because basically it shows you how much money games are about. They're not about, making the experience better for customers. They don't give two shits. They just want to take your money and go, and that's why a lot of time you see the game come out, runs like horseshit, and it's usually the community that fixes it. Think about the myriad of mods, and that's how bad they've got with money, is now that they are trying to sell mods to you on consoles. They use the mods that other people make for free to make money for themselves to fix their own game. That just, like, no other company would try that, but Bethesda keep doing it. So
yeah. One other question: thought on the seeming delay with tractor beams, or just a delay with the C1 and tractor rifle? So
tractor beams are pretty much mandatory for cargo to work properly, especially in space, right? So you tell me.
They have recently said, though, right, that the hand tractor beam will be able to use on the 32S CU or CU containers until they bring out the larger ones. So that they've got things in place for us to still be able to use the functionality of these new things.
Yeah, but cargo is a fundamental part of piracy, believe it or not. And
100%.
And a lot of those ships are going to utilize the in-space tractor beam. It is really pivotal that works.
That was Monster AV again, by the way.
Yeah, he's a pain in the ass, don't worry. No, he's fine.
It's good. Keep bringing in the questions.
But yeah, I know. You tell me your thoughts, because I feel like I'm the one that's answering the questions, and I want you to answer them as well. So, what are your thoughts on tractor beams? Where do you think they need to be to kind of be where you want them to be on release?
Okay, so don't worry about him, Monster AV. He's the real arsehole, we all know. But okay, so tractor beams. I am one of those people that I'm kind of over beam citizen. I don't want to see so many beams to do everything. You could scrap the med gun or make it insanely rare, and I'd be super happy. And just give us some primitive, like, surgical tools, some Tarkov level medical shit that we could do in the game. I'd be so much more happy with that than a beam to solve all your problems. Because
I think you'll find that will be the case as time goes by. Beams are just really easy to implement, and let's be honest, we do technically have a med pen, and we also know that there is different levels of tech in the game. So I just think if beam is the middle part, like, all high tech, right, then they'll go back and do lower things. So we know that they can already stab you with things, so there's probably going to be I think you're going to get what you want. I think just the first implementation is beams, because they're easy. I think that's what you're going to get.
I've been on my Discord, I've been hosting a ship design contest for a ship giveaway. And I actually had one thing that really, like, one person submit something. It kind of really changed the way I thought about the large containers and beams and stuff like that. He's essentially designed a ship that
can you send it to me and I'll show it on stream?
Sure. It's a white box design. I'm quite sure he wouldn't mind if I sent it through, but it's fantastic. So I can.
Well, we might be able to get you a few more entrance people today. It might be a few
if people want to jump over and do that, for sure. Yeah. So just let me.
I should be sending it by Discord.
Yep. So copy image of that one, and this is a ship that's designed to actually pick up the big containers physically and move them, because, like you said, there's different levels of tech, right? And he simply wanted a way to manually move these things without using beams and.
Yeah, which we know is a thing, because if you actually look at the just the trolleys as an example. we have trolleys, but we also have drones that pick up stuff. We have the tractor beams and everything. So again, different levels of tech. So I think you're going to find there's going to be multiple myriads of ways to do things. Like if you think about how cargo works in real life, like if you're at a port or something like that, you know, you might have the raft or something like that. But then when you go out to somewhere that's like more remote, like just a normal landing zone, you'll probably have to unload it by hand. And I think that's what they're going for here. Man,
this is asking an exceptional lot of them to bring out a ship just to move large containers. But
what manufacturer is this?
So he's used the front like tines of the Vulture and bits off everywhere, and he's scaled things up and down, so it's a bit of a mishmash. But I think he wanted this to be like a kind of like an RSI thing, like a bit more of a.
It looks. It looks like like he's got Aegis Reclaim or Anvil engines on it. So I'm wondering if it's Anvil. To me, it looks Anvil or Aegis. I can't quite pick. But
he hasn't given me the write up yet. He just sent this as like a proof that he's working on a thing for this contest, which I'm going to keep open, I think, until 320.
Yeah, look past the arms, guys, because the arms, let's be honest, arms are arms. But I can see the bridge part of the Idris on there as well. So yeah, he does. Okay, yeah, I'm starting to see the Idris on there now. So yeah, I can see the RSI part of it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's the Idris engines, and then the little bridge across the top is yeah, okay. I can see the RSI now. Yeah. Interesting. And it's got a conic cockpit, yeah.
I think it's like the Apollo, like kind of the Apollo shape in the middle as well.
What's that? What's that guy that has the boots with the wings on it in Greek lore? What's it? It's not. It is Apollo? No, I'm trying to remember. What the hell's the guy's name? You know they got the different gods. He's the messenger of the gods. Whatever that guy's name is.
Hey Retro, what's going on, man? Apollo or
Mercury. Yeah, I was gonna say, but the Mercury is already taken, and so is the Apollo. So yeah.
And there's Hermes, yeah, of course.
Yeah, Hermes would work. Wouldn't be a bad name for it. So yeah, something
on your Steam and very confused. I did shut that down, didn't I? Actually, I better do that. For those people who are still lurking in my stream, bye bye.
Anyway. So yeah, where can people go on your Discord? So we'll chuck a link to your Discord, and if they want to kind of join your little design competition, what's the ship that's up for grabs?
We've got 2 LTI tokens, one being both of them being Furies, the MX and the standard one. We've also got a couple of other things, depending on how much traction we get. If there's a lot of people putting in, then I'll fork out a bit of cash and we'll do something really nice. Like we're speculating if we get a lot of entries, we might do a Vulture.
Yeah. So it's just a bit of fun, though, isn't it? Just to see what.
Absolutely.
And this is actually not a bad way of doing it, because kit bashing is really simple if you know what you're doing, and the files are available. So yeah, that's a good way to do it, and a bit of fun. Yeah, as Essay says, we've only got speculation right now until the game's out. So yeah, enjoy it while you can. I know a lot of people don't like speculation, but it's just harmless fun. So yeah, and I know there's some people that don't like it, but you know, I do. I enjoy it, and some things do come out of it, and sometimes they don't. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Radio.
Is there any other good ones that you've got while we're there? Like, is there any other good ones that you would like to show off?
That one's the one that's been like sent to me to show me work in progress, but no one else has sent anything in. They've got stuff, but they haven't sent it in.
What about an idea? What's the best idea you've heard so far then?
My one, obviously.
The Uwu ship. No, just kidding. I don't know what is what's your favorite.
So on mine, I got a design. I can send it through as well very quickly. But I'm a bit of a sucker for Drake ships. No apologies here. And it's in the giveaways.
So I'm just going to put Daily Noob's link on YouTube, and I'll do it on Twitch as well. So that's Daily Noob's Discord. If you're
we got a couple. Nilarax put one in there just then. So mine's a real simple design. I will send some through to you.
I just found those other images you sent me as well. They actually, I didn't realize you'd sent them. They actually look quite cool as well. Hang on, let me go to the browser. So here it is from above, and we've also got it from the side. Now I see, like, yes, you can clearly see it's been taken from the Vulture, but like, I actually can see this looking quite cool, actually. I really do see it's obviously the Apollo and different engines, but yeah, that's not terrible, not a terrible idea.
No, I just did this one as an example for people that wanted to see kind of, the program that that I used and what you can kind of do with it. And I've always wanted a ship which is just an engine, a cockpit on the left of it, and a big fucking gun on the right.
I'm getting Buccaneer vibes, like mixed with an air. Sorry, I'm just opening it for you guys now so you can see what he's talking about. But yeah,
it's exactly what it is. It's I called it the flintlock because carrying on the pirate theme, and it's essentially exactly what I explained. It's just a big.
And if you ever want to get disappointed, go back and look at the original concept for the Buccaneer. That thing was so cool that they really should have figured out a way to get it work. So the massive gun on top, that was actually originally underneath. And if you know the ship from StarCraft, the Wraiths, I think they were called in StarCraft or something like that, it looked exactly like that. So it had this massive wing and like a gun underneath. It looked so sick. And then they released it and said, oh yeah, we couldn't get to work underneath because of the landing gear. So we just put it on top, and I instantly melted my pledge. I just was like, but you've killed the whole thing. Was like this massive gun that hung underneath. And it just didn't have the same silhouette as it had before. This does look a lot more aggressive like that. And the Buccaneer looked amazing back then, and now it's still cool, but just doesn't have that same appeal as it used to have. I really think that they should have spent the extra time and effort to try and get the landing gear to work, like come out the side and go down or something like that. But yeah, they to them it was too much work, so they just moved the gun, and I think they missed the whole point of how it looked back then. I got two more images here that you sent me. So we've got the above one, kind of interesting. Does remind me a little bit of the like a B-wing / Reliant, a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah, I do like the whole kind of Drake aesthetic of it. It's kind of interesting.
The whole shtick of it is it'd be 2 size 6 hard points. Oh, sorry, 2 size 7 hard points. Obviously, no, size 6 hard points.
Wait,
yes,
you said
that's what
2.6. Like 2.7 is twice the size of an Ares. Like that's not a flying gun.
That's two size 6s. Sorry, my bad. Hard points. So you'd obviously have 2 gimbaled 5s, or you could be a madman and go for the 2 6s. But it's a medium, like it's a small to medium sized ship, and it's I just wanted like a Drake's answer to the Ion and the Inferno, which would be this.
Do you know?
I wrote a whole bunch of lore on it and shit too for the.
My kind of instinct is kind of telling me, wouldn't it be cool if they weren't stacked on top of each other, but like one was right up against the body and one was right out on the end on the wing?
Yeah, sure.
And then you could a little bit like the Corsair. You know what I mean?
Can we call it Abomination? Call it whatever you want.
I don't know. What do you guys think of stuff like this? I always love interesting things like this, just thoughts that other people have for ships. Like sometimes they're horrendous, but this is actually quite good.
That's why we got the ship giveaway being a design competition, and like I'm gonna try and queue you and Badges up to judge it. Obviously, when time comes.
Cool. That means I can't enter, but that's fine.
No, you can absolutely enter for sure.
I win. Immediate judge. I win.
10 out of 10.
No, I can't I'll take myself out of it. I do have ideas for ships and stuff that I've done, but I haven't actually gone and kit bash like this, so maybe I should. Yeah, like the one that I got really excited about was when there's an episode that we didn't air that we're probably going to reshoot. We did an episode called "Can We Fix the Redeemer" with Paul before I went off to the Philippines, but we weren't happy with the episode, so we've got it sitting there, but we're going to redo it. And one of the ideas we came up with it, because they are so happy, unhappy. Both Agrid and Paul are really unhappy with the layout of the ship. And the funny thing was, in the episode, we restructured the way it was laid out, and it actually became really sick. So that would be a really cool episode. If I could find someone that did concepting or something like that, I might get someone to draw it up when we redo the episode, because it was kind of interesting, just what came out of it. It was basically essentially leave the Redeemer how it is and remake the entire ship the way Algrid and Paul wanted it to be. And I'm telling you right now, I'd buy both, right? Because they're both gunships, and their main problem and the takeaway I kind of had from it was they want it reworked, but what they want is they want the dropship. They don't want the long range escort. And all the things they went through is they're kind of annoyed, and I can see why they're annoyed. It was what the Redeemer originally was, and now CIG have changed it to this other thing. They want it what it used to be. And so that's kind of the takeaway. And they don't like the fact that the bottom room changes. They basically, if you kind of move things around and swap the two floors, so to speak, because in a lot of drop ships, the cockpit is really low to the ground, and so it's easy to land and stuff like that. So they actually want the cockpit on the bottom floor, believe it or not, and you put the top floor on the top, the bottom floor on the top. So if you actually kind of flip the floors, and the top floors the stuff where everything changes, and it made a lot of sense when they explained it to me and went through it. But I might show you that episode in private if you want to see it. But it will eventually come out so everyone can see it. But we've just got
I can see exactly what they mean though with that, because it from a terms like a point of utility, you would want the two flipped.
Yeah,
it just makes sense.
Yep.
Although I got this vision of like the escape pods being on the top and then just getting jettisoned upwards and outwards.
Yep.
And then just like floating down with like a parachute just for shits and giggles.
Well, a lot of their problems were things like why are the jump, not the jump seats, but you know how you set up the top and then you walk down to the bottom to get out of the ship and stuff like that. Like CIG have put, and they do this a lot. They put the ease of making a ship over the aesthetics and use of a ship. The Buccaneer that we're just talking about is a prime example. It was easier for them to make to have the landing gear on the bottom, so they just moved the whole gun around because it was easier. But at the end of the day, you've got to use that ship, and it's also how it looks that's important to people, and they destroyed all that. And it's the same thing with the Redeemer. They made it so that they can just swap out the bottom really, really easily, but as using that ship, if you are sitting up the top and you've got to travel down the bottom and then outside, you can't do things quickly. By the way, that's 4 people trying down to get a ladder for a single person. So and there's no other way out of that ship. So when you kind of work it all the way through, you can see where they're coming from.
I could just see Drake, instead of like redesigning a ship, have the gun on the bottom, just putting that thing on sleds and sending it because it's Drake. You know, like just.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't like every time I think of Drake, it's just like, will duct tape fix it? The answer is yes, every time. You know what I mean? That's what I like about him. Right. Let's get another question up in here though.
How just real quickly, for those that want to kind of do it in your design competition, what software were you using to kit bash this stuff together?
So you know the fleet viewer, I think it's called Starhanger 42 or something. They've actually got like a little program in there where it's just like build your own ship, and you just click on that, and it's got a whole bunch of assets you can just kind of like mishmash together.
Have you got a link to that, or
I can find it very quickly.
And just give us a sec. Just check it in Twitch and YouTube so people can have a play around, because you might find you get a few more hits.
Starfleet 42 or something like that. Starship 42.
There you go.
And it's called Shipforge. So I'll send that to you and you can push it through.
Sure thing. All right. Next question when you're ready, sir.
Yeah, man. So this is Switchblade from YouTube. Question: with the brief show of Rasta recently and from SitCon, how big do you think CIG will allow us to build our bases?
Yeah, so I actually talked about this a while back. I have a sneaking suspicion, and when I said this, people thought I was crazy. I actually did it on like the idea came to me while I was in a podcast with Space Tomato. I actually think you could actually design the entire system. So if you think of an outpost as like this free flowing space, but it has like a when it gets to a certain size, you can put like down a town hall or something, like in SimCity or something like that. And once you place down that foundational building of a certain size, it allows to go from a free flowing structure or system, you know, like a small camp or whatever, where you can just build whatever you want. But once you put down then that town hall, it then allows you to connect buildings off that go out, and it's essentially turning it from a free flowing town into a city. And so once you place that down, you can then start connecting buildings off it in all different directions. And that's what I think they're going to end up doing. So you can literally, once you get to a certain population size, it'll go from a camp or a town and turn into a city. And so it'll allow you to basically have these dynamic cities that just move out. And as they grow, the terrain can deform and flatten or whatever it needs to do to fit to said city. And I think we're seeing that already, you know, like how a city's structurally laid out versus an outpost. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think they'll make it dynamic like that? So if we build somewhere, it can change into a city. If so essentially goes from a player, town, or camp into a city. Do you see that being a thing, or am I pie in the sky on that one?
Oh man, I hope you're right, because that would be fantastic, especially with stuff that you could absolutely do, like big group ops, essentially just building, like, and especially because we've I've been playing a bit of Scum lately, and just like base building games and stuff like that, just to have a little bit of a break, take the stream somewhere else for a little bit. But it's been honestly, I'm one of those people that could just sit there for hours on end and farm like mats, building things, and it just take up a large portion of my life happily. I find it quite peaceful. But when you're doing it in a whole big group working together towards something, and you create something like grand, it's a whole different ball game, different feeling. So if they manage to, like you said, allow you to constantly add on to things and make bigger and better things, expand on it.
You can see
how I can see it
adds all together as well. So someone will have to be doing the infrastructure and the planning of the city, the sewerage, the electricity, all those type of things, the politics that will come into it, the governing, all that thing. So you can see it all is all connected gameplay wise. So I think that's where they're going to go. I really do. I think they've kind of sat there and worked it all out. And just like real life, everything is interconnected. You know, some guy's got to go out and put that light bulb in, but someone's got to tell him that he needs to go out there and put the light bulb in, you know? So, you know, you've got a boss above you, but they've got a boss above them. It's all interconnected. And I think that's where we're going to go. All part of the simulation, believe it or not, all falling under Quanta.
Yeah. I could see it. Whether or not they want to dedicate that much time and effort into that when they got, you know, the next 2 Squadron 42 to come out after this one, plus all the systems, well, I guess we'll see where they go. But man, if they start running out of ideas, like they've got a lot there to go off.
Yeah.
And a lot to expand off too.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if it'll be initial, right? But that was the thing I was trying to say to Space Tomato when I kind of had this thing. I was like, what if they can make it so we can? It's all, and the thing I went into, just to clarify, I should probably say the whole thing, was we were looking at the time about I was talking about the population of cities affecting the size of cities. So basically, say shitloads of people move into Lawville. Lawville could actually like have new constructions come up, and you'll see buildings change over time, and the whole city would scale out to fit the population, and then they could shrink, and you'd get derelicts and things like that as well. So we could see the good and the bad, just like in real life. There are cities that, you know, they're really popular for a while, and then something happens, and you know everyone moves away for work or whatever, and the city shrinks, and there's heaps of abandoned buildings and stuff like that. It's the same thing. It makes everything very dynamic, and it has follow-on repercussions too. So crime will go up or down, you know, things like that. So I think it's all possible, it gets so much follow-on gameplay that I think that's why they're going there, or why wouldn't they go there? Because it's just we know they're making it so the buildings are modular, that you can, you know, spawn rooms and stuff like that in the underground and the bunkers and all that type of stuff. It's all interconnected, and I can't see why you wouldn't. Why wouldn't you just take that extra step and make it all run in a part of a simulation? Because once it's running in a simulation, it's kind of like, well, we can, you know, we've made it now. It'll just be dynamic, and it makes it a more breathing, living world. And I think that's kind of interesting, you know.
Yeah. Monster Avy says the only way to get them now is Pioneer packs, but that's just right now, and we can't do anything with it anyway. That's not what is scheduled for the future. Like, no one knows.
So the last thing, so you're talking about outpost builders, right? Because that's essentially what that ship was pitched as, but it's not an outpost builder anymore. It's now a manufacturing ship. So you'll notice that we haven't heard the word base building in a long time from CIG. It's now manufacturing. We even saw lines of code. Now, whether this is a real thing or not was for the Argo MCV, Mobile Construction Vehicle. So it looks like they're moving away from base building and into manufacturing, because then what you can do is you can just build the building with a manufacturing ship and it can be deployed anywhere. So one simple way to look at it, right, is if you're building a base, you need a flat space, right? You cannot build on the side of a hill. How does a Pioneer land on the side of a hill? With great difficulty. But if you just land somewhere nearby, build it, then you can pick it up and place it on the side of a hill. You see what I mean? So you start to think very quickly that it's got massive benefits rather than take it to where it needs to go. And cargo ships just become a delivery ship essentially. And so basically you can take the factory where the resources are and deliver it from there. I just think it makes so much more sense if you think about it through gameplay perspective, rather than trying to land this huge ass ship on, it can only land in very specific areas and very limited space. If that flat area on top of the hill is just not quite right, you can't land the Pioneer there, so you can't build a base there. It really restricts it. But if you can just pick up the base and put it wherever you want it to be, then you can build it literally anywhere. So there's massive benefits to changing it from that to that. All right, it sounds like ISC's dropped as well, so we can watch that in a bit as well.
Rightio. And question on Twitch, Monster AV, somewhat related to medical. For Respawn, they had mentioned taking the body back to regen. How would that work if they downed, in quotes, to death delay, just be able to delay regen? So with that, I got a few thoughts of my own about ways that they could really do this to make it a lot more reliable and a little bit more realistic. I think like you could greatly reduce the cost of regenning if there was a body to work off.
Just real quick, when we've answered a question, can you emote it so I know where we're up to?
Yep, not a problem. I'll just start from here.
Yep. Well, once you tick it, then I'll know where we're up to, because I don't know where we're up to. That's how me and Algrid keep track.
Yep, not a problem. I just got to move some things about.
Where are we up to? Who was the question from?
Monster AV. It's just
yeah, he's got like 40 questions done by him, so I can't track where we're up to.
Yep. Come on, let me do the thing.
Medical, for Respawn, they had mentioned taking the body back to regen. How would that work if they down to death delay, just be able to delay regen? I don't quite understand that, unfortunately. The wordage.
Just trying to figure out why it won't let me emote on here.
You probably don't have the rights to do so, to be honest with you.
It's okay.
I think Algrid and I have the ability, but yeah, I found it anyway, so I'll do it for you. There you go.
Yep. So the way I see it is, if you're going to need a body for any reason, it would be to make the cost, and maybe even the DNA degeneration they're talking about, significantly less costly. That would be a really good way to do it, if you could actually bring the body back, especially if you could have a friend to do it, which would be great. Like in a down state. I'd also like to see, like I said before, I'd like to see a lot of the beam shit in Star Citizen disappear. So that medical gun should be insanely rare if they're going to keep it, and other things like there might even be a whole game loop around, learning how to splint legs or to stabilize someone who's, dying because they've taken some shots, patch someone up essentially, and just get them, stable enough to move them, so you can then move them to your medical ship where you have better facilities to be able to do that. And I know they got things like the medical stretcher drones in the Apollo, which would help, and a lot of things like that. But medical is as much as it's better than a lot of other games, it's still insanely basic in Star Citizen right now. I can see it getting so much better.
Everything's basic right now, but again, beams are just easy to implement, and that's why I've seen a lot of them. And I think eventually,
100%.
You'll see a lot more. You got to have an animation for everything, so it's just more and more stuff that has to be added. Where beams don't need that. So
look, I'm 100% behind pushing development forward using beams for now and all that type of stuff. But like medical, I really feel like that's going to be, because we've got so many ships aimed at medical and stuff like that. We're going to see some really cool things for medical. I'm sure of it. I'm really confident on that.
All right. Well, we've got ISC out. I've got to flick it over for you so you can hear. Just give me a second. This one. You should be able to hear. Agrid said he couldn't hear last week, so apologies if you can't hear, but alright, here we go, ISC. Can you hear?
It's been a long time since I've been in front of a camera, so this is a new experience for me.
Noob, can you hear it or not?
I cannot, but that's okay. Make sure you change the audio thing too for people.
Oh yeah, shit, I didn't do that last week. Let me do that real quick. That's this. Yeah, I don't know why Agrid can hear it either last week, so I don't know what the go is. It's something's changed, obviously.
Fine. I'll just run it at the same time as you.
Noise suppression was off anyway, so don't know why you can't hear it.
I was just making sure noise suppression was off for everyone else. Yep. As long as they can hear it, that's all that matters.
Alright, here we go.
Fresh one. But yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Who's going to do better, you or Graham?
Graham, he's an old hat. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, hi. Didn't notice you there. So today we're talking about resonance within the Claudius tool. What's Claudius? Tough question. Okay. Claudius is our new audio tool that brings together all the different audio functions into one place so that the sound designers can access everything they need
without going through needless code requests all the time. My favorite thing about Claudius is the fact that I won't have to jump into so many different tools and programs to get in-game and get the sounds sounding the way that I want them to and the way that I envision them in my head.
We did a whole thing on it at CitizenCon a few years ago. You should go watch it. I'll just wait. I'm much more natural on that camera when I'm not looking at the television.
One of the ways in which we're looking to improve the audio experience of Star Citizen is to find ways to better meet the player's expectations of what is being heard in the game world. We already create the sounds that you would expect for objects and interactions in the game and glue them together with reverb and effects, but we can always go further.
Our latest piece of tech within the Claudius editor is resonance, which allows us to take a game event that is either loud or particularly high sound pressure and make other elements of the game respond in much the same way as you would expect in the real world.
Resonance, put simply, is the sensitivity of objects to vibration, and in terms of our tech, it's the sound that they make as a result. We're aiming to fill a gap that currently exists with certain things not dynamically responding, at least in an audible sense, to player input and events transpiring in the world. We want to add another layer to the soundscape that just sprinkles a little more life into it and makes it just that little bit more real. You're there, you're experiencing it.
Our new tech allows us to quickly create resonances around points in the world in response to game events that can then be reflected by the objects and geometry around those points. We can add a resonance driver node in Claudius.
I think the really weird thing about Sound Noob is you don't notice it when it's there, but when it's not there, you do notice it. It's this really weird thing when it comes to sound. I don't know if you are the same, but
the immersion difference can be like astronomical.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I've played, like, I know you and I both used to play Hunt. This is the same engine as Hunt, and Hunt has a really good sound engine. So building on top of what Hunt's got, or the Crytek engine, I think we can already safely say Star Citizen's already got good sound. So
it's arguably the best sound I've heard in any game on Showdown.
Agreed.
It's one thing they do better than anything I've ever heard.
So sounds weird though. So it's not like graphics where if it has to be there. It's just if it's not there, it feels weird. So yeah, good sound apparently goes really unnoticed in the industry, and it'd be awesome if I could give it more thing, but it's just one of those things like you only notice it when it's not there, and that's why I find videos like this hard, because you want to appreciate it, but it's really hard to do so because it just doesn't have the same oomph that other things have. But yeah, anyway.
Largely, I also think you have to give credit to the sound engineers of Hunt Showdown, because like you can give anyone these tools, and I worked in a recording studio for a couple of years actually, after, like straight out of school, and just watching some of the magic people can do, it doesn't matter how good the tools are if you don't have a great engineer behind it.
Yeah,
you're only going to come up with crap. So
Yeah, I know the guy that worked at the sound recording at the game studio I worked at, his nightmare was footsteps. I'll always remember that line. He goes, if I never hear another footstep again, it'll be too soon. Because you've got to time all the footsteps to equal with the animations. So can you just imagine doing that repetitively? But you'd be scared of them.
And surfaces and everything as well. Yeah.
And it'd be the same thing in this, even just what they were talking there about walking up the stairs and stuff like that. So it'd be all similar stuff. So yeah, very, very unrecognized work, unfortunately, but that's just how it is. All right.
And set the size of its sphere of influence and also how long it takes to decay to nothing. We can then add resonator nodes to any audio object that we see fit. When the resonator is caught in the sphere of influence of the driver during gameplay, we use the resulting output to decide how loudly the object should resonate. What we're saying is we're taking game events in the world and we're trying to make the world around you respond in a much more realistic way to what you're doing. So if you're firing a weapon next to a window, you'd expect it to go or something like that, you know, a metal panel, sheet panel, that kind of thing. We can also set frequencies for both the driver and the resonator and make them respond only if the driver hits the resonant frequency of the resonator. So basically, if the frequency of a driver is changing, it might hit a certain frequency that excites an object much more than it does at other frequencies. Even with a simple example, there's already a greater sense of cause and effect. The props around you feel connected to your actions and you feel more immersed as a result.
A lot of artificial surfaces too in this game, so you would expect to
this
hear
being
sound.
implemented via Claudius in the straightforward visual logic-based scripting way means that getting your sounds in-game and working is just that much quicker. There are so many interweaving systems at play on the engine side that it usually can prove a challenge to get the desired outcome. Just from the resonator and resonance nodes alone, we can manage quick tweaks to dial in the exact kind of sounds we'll want to. And we're having it happen live and in context as we go.
Claudius's design philosophy is to put workflow first, and with this in mind, the resonance tech makes it easy to take a location or ship and populate it with the kind of responses you hear happening around you in real life. The potential here is large, so having a tool that makes it easy becomes incredibly important.
The underlying tech is designed to give the designers everything they need to implement. We're not relying on repeated code support requests to get this kind of dynamism in for our sounds. No one knows what you need to achieve the result you're aiming for in your head better than yourself. And that can take time and iteration, but here we have all the tools to do that by ourselves.
So now we can take a location, look around it, and think about what we'd expect to hear when, for example, a weapon is fired, and quickly add the markup to the game to make it do what we expect. Here we can see a few candidates: metal locker doors, a waste bin, empty cans, some windows, containers. By adding audio components to these objects or adding audio entities to the world markup, we can easily create their resonant responses.
Adding these resonances brings...
That's a little bit different to most games, because generally you'll just hear the bullet sound, but actually having every item and object have its own little sound is... I don't know if that's overkill, but it's definitely more realistic than other games.
Well, yes, but like other games do use that, but they use different sound samples in zones. So like if you're shooting underground, the gunshot will sound different because you're underground. Exactly. But what they're doing here, and you hear them speak about different audio frequencies using like getting emitted through drivers, creating different sounds based on the entity that it's bouncing off or reverberating with. It's really interesting because then you could get like insanely high pitched frequencies that would do things like shatter glass.
Yep.
Do all sorts of things like that. So they could have that. You could have like high frequency sound emitters used as weaponry that would shatter glass inside ships. You know, like
I'm looking
deafen
forward
someone.
to your opera singing, breaking the windows coming soon. Yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
variety and realism to the soundscape.
It's almost like it's got force waves.
So we're no longer just hearing weapons and reverb, we're now hearing the objects and materials around the player too. We can use the tech to support visual physical movements or even to imply them using audio alone. We can listen to the resonances in isolation to understand what's being added here.
This system is hooked into our propagation tech, which allows sounds to respect paths through rooms and doorways to reach the listener, normally the player. But in this case, rather than ensuring that what you hear respects the propagation paths within the world, we use the system to decide whether, for example, a resonance driver in one room should excite a resonator in another. So basically, if someone fires a weapon within a room, the objects in that room will vibrate differently to any objects that are outside that room.
As with all tech, we have things to consider.
You know that example they gave right at the front of the episode where they had the carrick explode, the javelin exploding, and they were in the carrick? That means you'd almost feel the pulse wave of the javelin in the carrick, like all the little, you know, like a little picture frame on the dash might rattle or something like that. That will that's when it'll really be noticeable to people. Like you'll visually see an explosion, but then it's almost like your ship is feeling it. That'll I think be really interesting.
Absolutely, yeah.
From a design perspective, there isn't going to be a one-size-fits-all system. Take, for example, you're in a ship. You might want to let the players experience a huge impact from a missile. It's a given you'd expect the ship and its internal contents to resonate when that happens, and this is perfect for that. But what about continuous resonances in a ship? We may want to use the system much more sparingly in these cases in order to avoid fatigue and focus more on the transient resonances as they convey more important information to the player. Much like a computer, the system
it'd also show you a different level of tech. So maybe in a Drake ship, there's a lot more resonance, you know, but in an Origin, it's a lot smoother and a lot more protected. So it gives you it gives you different feeling in different areas. That's interesting because we don't often kind of feel sound. That's kind of what this is allowing them to do. It's kind of interesting. It's
rattles your Drake ship that much that one of the panels flies off.
Yeah, exactly. You know, like, well, it also kind of like if it's something damaged, it kind of will allow you to hear or feel that something is wrong. Especially for an engineer, it's like, oh, that just doesn't sound right. You've heard people say that in real life, yeah? Like it's like my brother had before I went away, he had this whirring noise in his truck, and when I got back, he'd fixed it. It turns out it was one of the tires was wobbling, but we thought it was something else completely, you know. So, but it allowed him to find it because of the sound. Just another example.
Rules to govern its output, so design needs to inform the system how it should be behaving. Resonance can become more of an event to convey excitement and useful information. It should serve the experience and could help make scenes pop from an audio perspective.
Yeah. Yeah.
While we have the option of using propagation to ensure that resonances don't travel through walls or geometry, we can see that there are cases where we may want it to do just that. A ship receiving an impact from a huge missile would have vibrations resonating through its structure, which in turn would resonate its contents. By vibrating the ship and the objects around the player, the impact becomes much more visceral and feels like a direct threat to the player, rather than an event that just happened to some other part of the ship. The player's experience of the impact can then be more reflective of the damage done to their ship.
Yeah, I think that's kind of important because, like, you might be at one part of the ship that doesn't get damaged, but if you can feel it and hear it, it's like, well, shit, the ship's just been hit. And then, you know, you contact the bridge and nobody replies. It's like, oh, shit, well, the bridge is gone. You know, like something like that.
Well, it's also be great for engineers. They'll kind of be able to gauge where they just been hit by the vibration from their location. So they'll be like, okay, I heard it. I felt it a little bit. It's obviously not on this side of the ship. You know, they'd be able to start rushing to the problem area.
Yeah. And like I said before, you know, if you're an engineer, like if you can just hear the sound and you can tell, like I reckon there'll be people in certain ships that'll go, I can just tell that that component is broken because of the sound. Do you know what I mean? I reckon, and there are people who can do that in real life. So I don't know, it'd be interesting. It sounds like
it's like when we play Hunt Showdown, we can hear what type of gun they're using and if it's being shot underground or not from 800 meters away.
Yep, that's it. And,
it's like,
and it's all interconnected. Like we're now seeing that the sound is mixing with the visual effects and all that, so you can feel it as you see it as well. Like that example in the Argo MPUV there, you could tell that there was something outside moving everything inside. That was really interesting, you know. And I think it's going to add a level of depth we haven't seen. Well, you tell me from that example that you saw there with the Argo. Yeah, that's I haven't seen that in a game before. Usually it's just, you know, it's just a sound. But if that's all layered like they're showing, it's the next.
Looks like they're integrating. Looks like they're also integrating a lot of like similarities to like the Steam audio engine that Tarkov was using a while ago. Because like, and it was, don't get me wrong, it was horrible. It didn't work well. But what did kind of work well is the way sound got to you through multiple hallways and distance.
Yep.
So if it had to travel that way,
can you imagine if the next thing is if there is a sound pulse wave, but sound and resonance can actually be internet connected and they move. So you imagine a blast wave coming at you from an explosion. So the next step would be not just playing the sound of the resonance, but like, you know, things physically move because of a pulse wave, you know? So like, so those, you know, the wires on the ship here, like, so the wires might move a little bit or something like that. I don't know if they're going to go that detail, but that could be pretty nice.
Sounds like that's what they're doing. Like you could be at the very front of a javelin and like feel it a couple seconds before someone at the very back of the javelin feels that noise and that shockwave kind of pass through the ship, like ripple through the ship.
Kind of like
sounds like
you know, in submarines where they go brace, brace, brace or something like that because something's going to hit. You know, you could hear that, and then you know everyone braces, and you could feel like your character because they've talked about the impact stuff where you can be knocked around on the ships and stuff. You know, so I think that'll be a part of it as well. It's all interconnected. It'd be really cool to see like take the whole sea as they're using as an example, and you could actually almost see the pulse wave happening. Like maybe there's a can on the floor, and you'd see the can fall over or something like that, and you could see it coming towards you on a bigger ship. I don't know.
Books fly off the bookshelf in the captain's quarters.
Exactly, you know, and they've all got to be picked up, or in the Mets, and all the fucking food trays fall on the floor, or someone flies over the table, or stuff like that. You think about all the Star Trek episodes where they've all been on the bridge and they're all like, you know, they're getting flopped around and stuff. So
God, I hope it looks as horrible like the.
But yeah, it's all like if they get that all working, it'll all be interconnected in the code too, which is really interesting. I don't know. Makes it a lot more dynamic. It really, really does. I'm interested to see. This is more interesting than last week's episode, believe it or not. And usually audio episodes are not that interesting, but this has actually been quite cool. All right, here we go. Yeah, it's night and day, isn't it? But if we can see that as well, just the visual of it, it'd go to the next level. So this is cool
because if you have a huge impact that's hitting your ship, if you're in the cockpit, you can see the impact, you can really feel it there. But if you're down in the guts of the ship in an engineering role or something like that, and impacts are happening on the ship, you're maybe not going to feel it so much. So what this system does is it brings the whole experience of the ship being hit to wherever you are.
Resonance also sits nicely alongside our physical audio system, which handles the audio for the physicalization of props and objects in the world. You can already hear audible actions in the game, such as objects being thrown, rolled, handled, or impacted. This adds another layer to that physicality. Though with Resonance, it doesn't need to be beholden to the physics of an object.
Claudius and its underlying engine, SIG Audio, have been designed with rapid feature development at their core. Now that a lot of the hard work under the hood has been done, we're able to quickly develop and iterate on features such as Resonance that allow us to improve the experience of Star Citizen and enhance immersion to create a living, breathing world.
As with all Claudius features, this is available to any object in any context, so its use doesn't even have to be limited to what we've shown here. For example, we could use the blast radius of an explosion to drive the player's ear-ringing effect using the same system. Or we could affect mix changes within the radius of an event, such as a large explosion, ducking the other sounds around it to make even more room for impact. The tools are developed with creative freedom in mind.
You know, a really good example would be a flashbang.
Yeah, of course.
That would be perfect. Well, exactly almost what they showed there, but yeah.
And ultimately encourage experimentation.
So usually the graphics and the visuals get all the headlines, but to us, the audio is equally, if not more, important. And we hope that you'll feel the same when all this work comes online.
How'd I do?
Good.
Thank you.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that Claudius and its procedural audio tools allow for the systemic propagation of sounds in ships, stations, and space above and beyond. And that reverberations don't just mean the events around you sounding and feeling as they should, they can also lead to tactical and gameplay implications for combat, wear and tear, and much, much more. Now, don't forget that Ship Showdown is heading into the top 16 in just the next few days, and of course, the Mission Spotlight is still underway. And then, of course, we're only 9 weeks away, 9 weeks away from CitizenCon 2953, the now 2-day event at the Los Angeles Convention Center, and tickets are still available. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see you all here next week.
Well, Jared, if you mind me a ticket, I will a plane ticket. I will pay for my CitizenCon ticket.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's just so expensive to get there from Australia, the other side of the world. I do have to agree with what you said there, Walter Huck. You're saying the system isn't perfect though. When I fly my Redeemer, I can hear the stuff rattling in the fridge. Yeah, it's definitely needs some ironing out, but they'll get there. I'm going to be honest, that's probably one of the best audio. There was one that was a few years ago where they talked about how the engine for actually worked for sound, but that's probably the best audio one I've seen them do. And traditionally the audio episodes that they do every year are terrible because they just don't have the same punch, unfortunately. And as I said earlier, sound is one of those things that you notice when it's not there, not when it is there. But yeah, feeling sound is something that I don't think I've ever really kind of seen in a game before. If they can tie the visuals and the audios together, they might be on a real winner there, you know?
Yes. Yep. No, I agree. So I've been doing Tarkov Tuesdays. I started doing Tarkov Tuesdays, and they've got like if you shoot a grenade down a hallway, like you get that reverberation of noise and pressure. But things like books will fall off shelves, things will get kind of scattered a little bit. So they've kind of slightly touched on that, but it looks like Star Citizen's gone way over and above with this one. Like they're really going to go. It looks like they're going pretty hard with it, which I'm excited for. Anything that adds to the immersion, I'm all about.
I think, like, so Walter's also saying anything even close, I hear stuff moving around, but that's the thing. You would think about it. If you're in a ship and you've got items like just any object in your room. This is the water bottle I'm drinking, right? But anything, if your ship is moving and groaning and creaking, it will be because they are objects. Essentially, a ship is just objects bolted together, you know. And if you've got anything loose on there and you apply a force, it will move. Everything will need to be bolted down on ships, you know. Like think of an aircraft when you go on an airplane. Every drawer literally has things to lock the drawers closed so they don't fly off the shelves and stuff like that. It's exactly, and boats do the same thing if you've ever been on one. You don't have loose objects like your mobile phone just sitting on a desk. They all have to have somewhere where they're contained because it'll fly off otherwise. So I think that'll be a part of it, is like you will have some loose objects around, but then the combat hits and they'll just start flying across the room because you didn't bolt them down, you know, you didn't tidy up. And I think that'll be a part of it too, you know. So we'll have to wait and see how it all ties out. I think we'll be putting things away more frequently than we realize into containers and drawers and things like that, so they're secure. I don't know. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that? Having to put things away and clean up after a battle. You go in and do all the janitorial stuff in your character because everything flew across the room.
Look, that's I think that's one part where I'm going to be very thankful for beams in Star Citizen, right?
Yeah.
Being able to pick everything up with the gun very quickly and move it. I think that it's also gonna change the way we do a lot of things, right? Like imagine all the guns that you've sat on the gun rack just come flying off the gun rack and they're all over the floor.
Yep.
You know.
But that's why they
stuff
have
like
gun
that.
racks, because they're all locked in. Like you're seeing that repetitively through ships. Like go back and like there is so much of ships right now that we just don't use. Like you go
They
through
are.
any ship, it's got drawers and containers and storage boxes and.
But what if you left? What if you left the glass open on the gun rack, right?
Yep.
You know, that sits right up against it, and that they made it so the guns would fall out if you did so. You know, stuff like that.
Yep. But some racks are open, some racks are closed. Again, there's different tech levels. That's what I'm trying to get through. But yeah, there's just so many parts to ships that we don't utilize. Like there's so many ships that don't even have their components put in yet. You know, so these are as close as we can get to living, breathing ships, and I think this game is just so much in its infancy. It's not funny. And every tool that gets added, you can see it just goes to another level today. Even just with the audio stuff, we've got so far to go. Yeah, like what we are seeing is Squadron 42. That's all we've really kind of been seeing, and Star Citizen itself is still just this overflow of Squadron 42. And once Squadron 42 is kind of out the door, hopefully the speed at Star Citizen actually starts to get developed. I'm hoping increases, and that's what those new studios are. You know, the one at Montreal.
I was about to say, they just put the studios in, so we're already going to see increased like workflow, which is going to be great.
You know, we're going to see Pyro pop out, and then I think more systems will come at a much rapid rate after that.
Well, they're developing the tools to develop the system for Pyro, so like when they're trying to do the next systems, they're already going to have the tools.
Yeah, once the pandemic was over, just look how much extra gameplay has come out. Like, I know salvage doesn't seem like the biggest thing, but we didn't have medical, we didn't have salvage. You know, the amount of gameplay that'll come in once they actually start working into Star Citizen will really kick it off. And that's what a lot of us have been really working for. And I think a lot of people we've been here for a really long time, and it is very hard to wait when they're making a single player game. But once Squadron 42, hopefully, from everything we're hearing and seeing, end of next year, she should be out the door. We could start moving on to working on Star Citizen as well. And I think the rate which things move on to Star Citizen will be greatly increased. But I don't know about you, but Alga and I have been talking about, Star Citizen coming out for end of next year. Probably since, I don't know, September last year, but I'm starting to see a lot more people starting to echo those sentiments as well. I do know SC Leaks have been finding things to that effect recently as well, and starting to see more content creators come on board with the whole idea. So there are people definitely talking in the background about that it's coming. So hopefully, I think this Citizen Con is definitely going to be the ball rolling. Hype train. Yeah, I think so too. But like, I just really hope that they take as much time as is needed, because after playing Baldur's Gate, and that's a studio that did an actual beta test where they listened to the players and worked on the game with a lot of pride. They took a lot of time on it. And they did the whole "it's ready when it's ready" thing. Did you see the complaints from journalists about that game? It set the standard too high. Oh no, it's too
unrealistic standards.
It's unrealistic. Piss off. That's what the standard should be.
All gaming journalists are mainly just dickwads anyway.
He's just trying to buy branding points for another job. That's all he was trying to do, and it was really clear. Like, man, you want to make a good product, you make a good product, because you make a good. Think about all the good games out there. It's because they're a good product. And the ones, the myriad of games that we've seen in the last 5 years that have just fallen flat because they were pushed out too early because of legal obligations or money. And that's the problem when you're dealing anything with money. It changes people. It's that whole power corrupts thing. And I think, like, we can sit here and complain about how long Star Citizen's taking, but the benefit at the end of the day is it doesn't have a publisher, and that is astronomically why it will be a better game. And I think at the end of the day,
they do have a cutthroat marketing team, though. You got to give them that.
They need to be, though. You know, they have
Oh,
to.
I've said the same thing.
They still need money. You know that's money keeps the lights on and it gets the game made. You know, let's not fool ourselves, right? You know, and everything that we put forward is definitely helping.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not unrealistic. You know, that's how the world works.
Yep. Chris Roberts needs more fuel for his yacht, guys. Come on, pony up.
I think we also need to point out that Chris was a multi-millionaire before he started Steel Stars, so he doesn't really need more money. And he's also, yeah, I know you mean, but he's also said all money raised before the game comes out will go towards development of the game. So you know, the more money we put in, so to speak, all those feature creep people talk about, that we're paying for that. You know, so we want a bigger and deeper game. We're paying for it. It's that simple.
100%. Let's chew through some questions. Yeah.
Yep. We could probably get some more questions because we don't have that many more left. So again, when the questions run out, so does the stream. All right. Has been a very quiet stream today, but I think that's because Algrid's not here. But I don't know why he hasn't turned up. But I'll find out what's going on. Hopefully, he turns up for the weekend show. Yeah. All right.
All right. So Mount Stunner question. This is from Twitch. What are the chances that Algrid is facilitating a meeting between CIG and Baldur's Gate 3 devs to get a special in-game dialogue option for Old Man Hurston and the Uwu girls? I think that's exactly what's happening.
Feels like that.
Like,
he's probably having some special time with the Uwu girls.
He's in talks with Matt Mercer right now.
Make sure you message him on Discord and say what happened to the Uwu girls this morning. Where were they? You know, just all these weird questions that freak him out. So yeah, make sure you guys do that. Yeah. Right. Next one.
Yep. So the next one is Crix as a question from YouTube. The raft is marketed as a small cargo and possibly a space crane.
Yep.
Do you think the raft will have the possibility to carry liquid cargo like the Starfarer? What about towing as well?
So we have talked about cargo as a whole. I think there will be specific ships for specific cargo, and we have nods to that already, right? But I also think the other way you can go at it is that the cargo containers themselves can do it, but obviously it's subtractionary. So to give an example, we currently have the 400i, but we also have in real life, you have refrigerated containers, but a part of the refrigerated container can be actually taken up by the refrigeration unit itself. So say a third of the unit is the refrigeration unit, but it allows you to carry 2/3 more of the cargo can be frozen. But if you look at the 400i, it actually has a climate controlled section where you can actually put, climate controlled produce in. We don't have any agriculture yet, so there are no agriculture ships either. So for animals and things like that, and they may need, like, what if there's a certain monkey that lives off a certain atmosphere? So the whole atmosphere of that ship has to change. You'll get cargo that will require, maybe it's going to be really hot or really cold, temperature controlled. Same thing. Same thing with liquid. The liquid container. You'll notice that a lot of the liquid containers that we've had already have been spherical to hold the liquid. So believe it or not, that container is smaller because it doesn't have the corners of a square. So it's physically smaller to hold the liquid. So you're giving up something to get a benefit, right? So you can take a generalized cargo ship that can take everything, but it's losing a little bit of everything here, there on every little cargo container. Or you can say something like a Starfarer that specifically carries liquid, and I think that's where they're leading. I don't know if you feel the same, Noob, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, to a point, because we've already got like the refineries where we will take unrefined quantanium, take it there, it becomes quantanium that powers our quantum drives. The thing is, though, I was under the understanding that quantanium was a liquid byproduct after it's been refined, and we've been shipping that about in boxes. So like, who's to say that the boxes that we get and use to ship things around in aren't just capable of holding liquid? Like the 32 SCU boxes could just be capable of holding liquid, and that's how we're going to get them about. Like, so don't see anything wrong with that either.
At the moment in game, liquid's been represented by spherical containers. So if you look during Xenothreat, one of those 3 boxes was spherical, so it's a liquid.
Yep.
And that's just how they've been doing it. Also, you can get different states after refining. So something might start as a solid or a liquid or a gas, and then when it comes out the other side, it can be the same or different. So it actually can change state. So you could go from a gas to a liquid or a liquid to a solid and things like that. And after talking to logistics people, the different types of cargo that we have in the real world, you do have all, liquid, gas, and solid, but you also have like tied up cargo and loose cargo. And so one of the examples they gave was with mining and refining, just to give an example, like saddlebags, to give an example, right? We know the ore in them is loose inside a box, but you can't see it. But there could actually be open cargo containers for refining. So imagine like an ore container where and we've actually worked out how they can do this in game. Have you ever seen the video they did as a April Fool's for the food propagation? So they could actually show different baked beans and eggs and raspberries and all that type propagated on a plate. Did you ever see that tech?
It's not ringing a bell, no.
Okay, but I'm sure someone in chat's seen it, right? They used it for propagation, so you could actually take that and imagine you're propagating gold bars or ore, so you can actually do the texture of the top of a container, and then just change the level of that texture by going up and down. And so basically, you can have
looks like it's filling up and
exactly. So whether you do that with liquid or you do it with physical items, obviously can't do it with gas because gas floats into the atmosphere. But what we're saying is if you connecting dots, a lot of what we do with speculation these days is connecting dots. So if you connect dots of tech that they've already got, you can see that they could do this already. So we can do open cargo, closed cargo, and we can do 3 different states, which is liquid, gas, and solid. Right. And then if you want to look at a cargo container, you could open the cargo container, go, oh, look, it's full of gold bars, and then close it again. Oh, and it's half full, close it again, so you can do all that. So the only thing that doesn't work is obviously if you turn the whole container upside down, does just all the individual gold bars come out? That's where it becomes tricky. So if you can look at it, but I think a lot of the ways it'll be is there's like a temporary take off the lid, put the lid on type of thing. I don't think they'll allow you to just like upend a container into a bin. And if you do, it'll be like enclosed somehow. So like you don't see it transferring, because otherwise you're going to generate all those individual gold bars as an example I'm giving as a bin of gold bars. So it's when you have to physicalize those items. I think they're going to remove the physicalization, but they're going to show you a way to do it. You know how they do it in games. They do it all with tricks.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think as real as they want physicalized items in the game to be, they got to still gamify the shit out of it so it works.
Yeah. So long story short, to answer your question, going back to the types of cargo, I think we're going to see more liquid and gas ships come along like the Starfarer. In a weird way, you've kind of got, we know that's the Starfarer is a gas collector. So there's probably, much like mining, there's probably more gas collector ships coming. We've done episodes on this. So there's probably another 3 sizes of ships in there to go. But also, the Starfarer being a transporter as well, we've probably got more ships coming for transportation of liquids and gases. So I could see, a hull A equivalent that just has 2 big spheres, and all it is for transporting of liquids. And by the same,
at the very least, you might see containers that have like they're just like a steel frame, the same size as the SCU sizes we have now, but with a cylinder or a spherical type container contained within that has your liquid,
like a 16 or 32 CCU cargo container that's just a giant sphere that's inside a box or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But I also think we will see the individual ships. I think we'll see liquid transfer ships, gas transfer ships. They're probably the same because of the spherical containers, but also temperature controlled. And the other one I was going to mention is agriculture. We just, other than the Endeavor, there is nothing else tailored towards agriculture. And I think the easiest one is plants, because plants don't have any AI. They just kind of sit there and they change states, as in they get bigger as they grow. So it's just like 4 states. It's essentially an LOD over time, level of detail. So the more close you get to something, the higher the level of detail, right? But a plant is literally just it changing states over time. It's a very similar type of thing. So instead of getting closer or further away, if you just sit there and watch it grow, it just changes states as it gets bigger, right? It's the same thing with, but transferring that to, say, animals, right? How do you do AI tech for a herd of gazelle? Like, that's a lot more complicated. So what they'll probably go to is, instead of a whole herd mentality, is special one-off creatures. So the ones that we've seen are like the arboreal stalker, the yeti type thing, the giant space crabs and things like that. They tend to be one-off or very few. So in the crabs case, we saw the mother and a couple of little babies, right? So you won't see these massive herds of things because it requires heaps more AI. Maybe down the road, but like, can you see like an entire herd of space cows? And the only way they can limit that and make it make more like the plants is they have to live inside a pen. So they just have a very limited AI. They can't just go anywhere. Where as soon as you put the AI obviously puts a lot of stress on the servers, as you've already seen. So if you've got to have human AI, animal AI, and all that, the only way you can limit that down is to have less of the physical number of those creatures. So I'd expect to see, at least at the very initial stages, more like one-off things like the space yeti or the space crab, and there's only one or few of them. But
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially until at least they get Quanta really nailed. So like they can have things like wildlife hosted separately on its own server and then meshed, obviously.
Thank you for the raid, Astro Otter. Appreciate it. Right. Sorry.
Something like that would be good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I always keep that in my back pocket. There's all this agriculture stuff yet to come, whether it's farming, animal, plants. Like, there's a whole nother tree that we've never even really looked at. And it's going to totally change the entire game. Especially, it's a whole nother tree of cargo, essentially, you know, and not just cargo, because animals and plants, they go into things like medical for plants. Animals go into medical. They also touch cooking, and food. They also touch you know, all the different farming trees. So, like, you can see very quickly how interconnected animals are, or agriculture will be, to the rest of the game. It'll hit everything. Like, there might be a special tree that you've got to grow that's got a particular resin that's used in refining. You know, like, and mining, like they're all going to be interconnected. Think about just look at World of Warcraft and how much the professions congregate there. There's not a single profession that doesn't connect with another profession somehow. It'll be exactly the same in Star Citizen, in some way, you know, and you'll get specialities within specialities. Like, you know, you got in World of Warcraft, you had people that would specify in just one particular area, because the profession itself would be tend to broke into 2 or 3 different places where you go. So you get someone that would work with just heavy armor, that was a blacksmith, and then we get another guy that would work with, you know, leather within something. So it's different for different. You can see the complexity. It's creating itself. Yep. I'm kind of ranting at this point, but yeah, you get my point.
Yeah. No, I can see exactly what you mean, though. Yeah. We got a question. This one's aimed at you. Why is Execute's facial hair so amazing? Weepy Sleeper said. And I actually, once he's lying. See, the thing is that's actually his 5 o'clock shadow. He shaved last night before he went to bed.
No. I had a shave, I think, about 4 days before I came home from the Philippines, and I haven't shaved since. So this is about 2 weeks of not shaving. And the other thing is the grey all starts to come through. I'm starting to show my age. Got a bit of red up the top there. I had
the salt and pepper's fine, mate.
A lot of the Filipinos will ask me, they're like, "Why is there red in your beard?" Because, well, obviously their hair's all just black, so they found it very strange that I had a red beard, which was interesting. But yeah, no, I'll have a shave soon. I probably need to upkeep myself a bit more.
Unlike me, where it just grows in tufts randomly everywhere. So Gideon Sanders, a YouTube question to Execute. When you were in the Philippines, did you also try the culinary exquisite dish named, I think it's balut?
I did see balut, but I found it really difficult there, right? Because how do I explain this? It's like you go to somewhere and you might call it, let's take salt and pepper as an example, because everyone knows salt and pepper, but they'll call it something different. So you had to learn what it was called, you know, and I'm a bit fussy with food. Like, there's certain things I don't like. So if I couldn't look at it and tell what it was, I wouldn't eat it. So I often find something that I'd like and I just eat that repetitively. So it was a bit difficult. I definitely think in a place like that, it would have been really good to have a guide. So I learned a lot, though, but that's why I went, because I'd been looking into the Philippines for 5 years and I just wanted to it was different from what I expected, you know, and now I've been there, I know what more to expect. So yeah. No, I haven't tried balut, but maybe I'll have a look into it next time I go. So yeah. Thank you, Robin, for the I'm Robin75. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Appreciate that.
Definitely going back then.
Yeah, at some point, yeah, we'll be. I just realized that on this screen, it is not logged in for some reason. Don't know why. For you, so you can't see anything that I see. Oh, well, I don't know how I can fix that, but yeah.
Don't worry about it. It's all good.
Yep.
All right. So on Twitch, Eminent Shadow has a question. What are your expectations for the eventual gold standard rework of the Valkyrie? Atmo sealed crew area, will it be able to carry an Atlas vehicle platform or even a tank?
Expectations for the Valkyrie.
I think they could fix a lot of the issues with that open to atmosphere.
Yeah, I think
crew area.
I think that kind of sums it up. My expectation is not like to change what it can carry. I think it's more about fixing things like open to atmosphere and things like that. And that's kind of thing we talked about earlier, like things on the Buccaneer. They change things for ease of making it, but then they don't realize that there's other systems down the line that have to go. A really simple example would be no front door on the MSR. You know, just little oversights that would totally be changed and found very quickly if it was a real life thing versus a virtual
That actually gave me a thought too. Like when you bring up the Buccaneer now, so how obviously to land on any type of like ground or platform, you extend the landing gear, you land, happy days. There might be some planets where all the goods are like the whole planet is just right and everything is underneath that. So like landing some ships on it, you may need to leave the landing gear up so water doesn't obviously like come through. Like it would be sealed with the landing gear retracted, and you just land the ship in the water, it would float. You'd exit that way in and out of the ship. That would actually be really, really cool for certain vehicles. Like obviously the 890 is a giant yacht. It'd be great to be able to just leave that in the ocean and go exploring a water planet. But yeah, it leaves some cool design choices. It really does.
Yeah, thanks to everyone that tested that for me on YouTube. I appreciate it. But yeah, we can't see the chat window on the screen, so noobs haven't have to open in a second screen. I didn't realize until, because I use a second screen over here. But yeah, I'm sure if Agard was here, he'd be complaining about it. But I don't know why it's not working, and I'll have to fix it once we're not live. So apologies for that. All right, next question.
Yeah, YouTube again, Northern Trooper question. So will the explosion of an Idris push small ships away like the Fury, the Arrow? Could. Yeah. I feel like if you're that close though to the explosion, it could damage your ship good enough to make it go pop if it's going to fling you away on such a small ship.
I think it'll definitely push you away, but yeah, like you said, if you're too close, there's a line, isn't it? It'll definitely have to damage you as well, and stuff like that. So yeah. It'll depend on distance, but I totally agree. I think it would be any ship, actually. You know, like you could have an Idris explode right next to another Idris, and you'd expect it to do damage to it. Maybe not kill it, but, you know, again, it depends on size, armor, and all that. It's propagation, you know. It'll all be a part of the simulation, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I could see that for sure. It's a great question, actually. So certain fleet battles, you definitely, like when something looks like it's about to go off or it's about to go critical, you would actually try and clear the area during combat at the last second.
Yep.
So that's actually a really good one. So Lighthawk asked me this question earlier, so this is just for you, X. Since you and I have already talked about this, it's for X. Speaking of Squadron 42, since they are going for a part, like a 3-part thing, do you think CIG will release the Idris and Javelin after the release of part 1, or not until all 3 are out?
It'll be part 1. They've said as much, but it'll just be how do I put this? As long as the tech's there to support them. So if they've got server meshing and all that up and running and stuff like that, I'll put it in. You know, they've kind of paused a lot of the development on, besides server meshing, obviously, on a Star System. Like, for example, one of the real big ones that me and Agrid can't believe they haven't done, but when you think about it, it's not really needed for Squadron 42 because, again, it's a single-player experience, is they don't have interior ship culling. It blew my mind when I found that out, you know, and that's on the road. That was on the roadmap to be done. So when that comes in, the optimization level of the game will just go through the roof, you know. Like, so you got to realize every time an 890 jump rocks up to you, and you're looking at the 890 jump, it is rendering every single room and every single item in that ship. It doesn't need to. You can't see it. You know.
Yeah.
And until like I think those of us will remember when the 890 jump was first added, there'd be this bug where all the items in the ship would fall off and land on the hangar floor. Again, interior culling would hide all those because you don't need to see them. You do when you're in that actual room and they're all in front of you. So essentially, none of the ships are optimized. Is the easiest way to explain this in layman's terms.
It's wild how you could be right in front of an Idris and have better performance than being right in front of an 890.
That's it. Because the Idris is just that's a perfect example because we know there's no interior to the Idris currently.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it'll be. An 890 jump should normally not have the interior when you're outside. So once they add that interior culling, oh boy, this game that and the render of things like DirectX 12 and Vulkan, those two combined, well, this game is going to run buttery smooth. Like if it's running at 70 frames now, I would be expecting double the frame rate we got right now.
Well, the other thing is too is they're still like their scheduling on their engine right now it's very far from perfect. Like my graphics card's like getting used to 1/3 of its capacity. And like I know no matter what I've done, I can't make it use more. It just won't. It refuses to. And I've talked to a few other people who have the exact same issue, you know. But yeah, I could definitely see some massive improvements with a lot of the upcoming tech. It's gonna be quite huge. So we've got another question. Sorry,
just real quick. In chat, there's a guy called the Manihu who says, "Hi, any news about the Kraken?" So normally when you write a question, Manihu, you just put question in it, and the bot will pick it up and will answer it. But in this case, because you're new, we'll answer it for you. Hasn't really been any official news on the Kraken for a while. The last thing we heard was they updated the LODs and the model that appears at Cousin Crows has been updated as well, so they've had some little updates of the LODs and stuff like that. We did see it in a commercial for the Antares, and I would kind of expect if we ever see it appear in game, it'll be a little bit like what you're saying about the Idris noob, where it'll be I'm almost half expecting it as the Idris of Pyro. You know, it's the big ship that rocks up and they'll spawn some ships on it that'll fly off and attack you and things like that. So
last I heard like real concrete like evidence of its stage of development was I think it was shortly after 2019. One of the developers said that they have finished the exterior of it, which doesn't mean a lot right now. There's probably a lot they could update on that. But they finished the exterior of it, and it used to sit at near one of the hangars at Hurston during like Invictus, by memory. Like just outside. So that's all we really know that's concrete, right?
Yeah. Again, pointing to the exterior being done, I also points to what I was saying about it spawning like an Idris in game as something that you can kill. That's what expect where we'll see it first, and then they'll go back and update the interior and stuff like that. But that I think that's really far away. Yeah, I think a lot of those bigger ships are just so far down the line because they don't have the size of look at all the ships that they put in game. They're all small.
Well, you'll be able to fly a Kraken in like 6 months.
Yeah, but
like you'll be able to fly a Kraken in 6 months, but it will be in Starfield and it'll be a mod. You'll be able, like.
I was wondering where the hell you're going there. I'm like, what? Don't set expectations that you cannot. There's no way that's happening. But
I guarantee you'll be able to fly like half of the ships that you're waiting for in Starfield from mods before you get them on Star Citizen.
Yeah,
I'll call that right now.
Yeah, you got everyone there with that one. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? But yeah, no, like look at how long it's taken them to do the Polaris and how long the Banner Merchantman and those ships take time, and they just don't have the big teams that are required to pull that off. Again, they're working on Squadron 42. They're not really working on Star Citizen. They're just starting to spin those teams up now. I'd say there may be at 200 people for those teams right now, and they want to eventually get those teams to like 750. So we're not even at a quarter of the people that they want to be at yet. So yeah.
No. And like more teams, more studios opening up, all that type of stuff. Like we actually don't know how far along a lot of ships are because there's Well, you look at how secret they are about some things. Like, geez, it was about 3 months ago now. But when one of the graphical artists accidentally let slip that the Origin hoverbike was going into white box stages soon. Like he wasn't meant to let that go. That was very obvious. So like they've been keeping that under their hat. Like what else are they keeping under their hat? What are they working on the side when something gets to a halt? Because like I was talking to a couple of people earlier and explaining to them that like you can't expect like a ship development team who like they might specialize in like LED, you know, or something. You can't expect them to go and start coding back-end server shit because you know, you want bugs fixed. Like they've got a job to do. They're going to wait on other people. They can't progress forward on certain projects if other things aren't up to snuff. So what are they going to do? They're going to go and, you know, tidy up other things, work on other stuff, like bring other things forward as well in the background. And it's just a lot of stuff we won't know about. There's so much we won't know about.
And all the ships that have been prioritized are those that are in Squadron 42. And things like, you know, we've heard that the Polaris will be in Squadron 42, but it's probably just the exterior. You won't see the interior, you know? But the fact that they're even working on the Polaris just shows how far forward they are, right? They're at the point now where they're going to start working on things that are just for Star Citizen, you know? Maybe the Polaris appears in episode 2. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they've started working on it, because it'll be in episode 2. We don't know that yet, right? And I'm just trying to give you guys examples because a lot of the priority is Squadron 42. And if they're starting to go, right, well, we're going to start working on things for Squadron 42 episode 2 now, maybe that's why I've seen the Polaris. Maybe the Polaris is the main ship. I'm making things up here, obviously, right? In episode 2. I just want to make it clear though, but that why would they work on something like that? You know, you need to ask those questions because that's where it's going to go. That's a really good one there. Hopefully CitizenCon will bring some answers. Hopefully it will. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a big trailer for Squadron 42 at CitizenCon. And the, you know, that this game's coming out next year. That's what I expect at CitizenCon. And if it doesn't happen, cool, I'll eat my words. But I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to see.
So. Yes. Retro Gamer asks, question, how are you guys doing?
Tired as usual. We do not have many questions left, guys, by the way. So, as usual, when the questions run out, the stream will wrap up. At this case, looks like we're only going to get half a stream because we're coming up to the 2-hour mark. But, yeah, if you guys got some more questions...
Start pumping in the questions.
It does look like a quiet one this week, though.
I'm surviving entirely off copium. Yep, hopium, snorting it all, getting it into me. Been streaming other games. So, love Star Citizen. That's definitely my main thing. But you know, just trying out Baldur's Gate 3. That's fun. I got Tarkov Tuesdays to look forward to, and a little bit of Scum on the weekends. A Survival Saturday, Survival Sunday. It's been good. You know, still playing Star Citizen in between all that, but it's been so much fun.
I'm noticing across the board, a lot of Star Citizen streamers have moved on to other stuff at the moment because it's that. Excuse me. That quiet period. And it's just when I got back, like people were saying it's been so dead quiet. It's not funny. But again, we know 320 is getting Evocati builds, so I think when 320 hits again, we'll probably a bit of a kickoff. We've also got Ship Showdown that'll have a bit of a kickoff, and then we're going to roll into CitizenCon. But CitizenCon is not in early October. It's now the 21st of October, so it's a little later in the month. But yeah, we're essentially looking at 2 months from now for CitizenCon. What did he say? 9 weeks. So that's about 2 months. Yeah, so a little more than 2 months. But I think
I'm actually looking forward to the PTU this time.
Yeah, I think 320 will be interesting with the cargo and stuff like that, and lots of other things going. It'll roll up. And Ship Showdown helps. Everyone gets hyped for Ship Showdown. I don't know why, but I think that's one of the reasons they do it, because it's just such a quiet time of year. And we get 2 quiet periods a year, and it sucks. That's just how it is. It used to be quiet before Invictus. It was quiet for most of the year. You know, like 3/4 of the years it would be quiet. That's just how it is. I don't know. I think once Squadron 42 comes out the door, I'm hoping that we'll get to see a lot more stuff, especially once they have the ship teams in place and they're actually working on Star Citizen, I think there'll be a lot more news flowing than what we were used to. Like they keep a lot of their stuff close to their chest because they don't want to ruin the story of Squadron 42. But if they're making Squadron 42 Episode 2 and Star Citizen at the same time with two separate teams, this team can be really loud while this team is quiet and holds on to the story. So I think it's one of the reasons I'm, not just looking forward to Squadron 42 is that they can talk so much more about ships and what they're developing with this second team than they've ever been able to do with the first team. So,
and they got a metric shitload of unannounced ships too that they're working on in the background. That's going to be nice for us to see and experience. We might learn a little bit about that at CitizenCon, I'm hoping. Fingers crossed.
It's also, like I said, about agriculture. Agriculture ships are just not needed for Squadron 42. Like, not in a heartbeat, and they've just put in ships that they needed. But I'm sure at some point, some kind of space cow. I don't know. I could see some kind of weird Squadron 42 reference there with Mark Hamill and a space cow. But we'll see how it goes. So yeah. Oh, that's the other thing I should say about CitizenCon is I'm expecting to see some people like Mark Hamill and some other stars there to kind of hype this thing up. Being in LA, and they live there, I'd be really surprised if we don't see Mark Hamill at CitizenCon. But
I got a question for you too. How do you feel about potentially sort of a brief rest period for the Squadron 42 developers where we just get a little bit of a push behind Star Citizen as well? Like they'll take like a short hiatus from before they get right into Squadron, whatever the hell they call it, part 2.
They'll definitely have some time off. They'll probably have 2 weeks to a month off and then get back to Episode 2. That's pretty standard affair especially after you have a push, or what do they call it? The crunch.
Crunch time.
So that's really common. Yeah, I think the really interesting thing about CIG is, especially unlike other crunches, right? This is taking they're having if everything from the roadmap was at the end of last year, it wrapped up, and then they're literally taking a year and a half to polish it. That's it's either a really big game or a shitload of polish. Either way, it's still taking a really long time.
Or both. You got to consider both.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, what else have we got? We have, is that Alta Hack? I hope so. Sorry if I'm butchering these names, but we got a question from YouTube. When will we see more live in-game? I mean, they could make town cities like the Mandalorian desert town with open hangar buildings you could land.
It's probably a lot further away than you think. So player built towns and things like that. Again, we need the resources and stuff. So you're essentially asking, the first question is, when are we going to see Star Citizen develop into a proper game? And that's not going to be out until the proper team is there. And then towns is so far down the road, it's not funny. We don't even have a full proper game loop yet. That just shows you how far
That's very correct.
The rate that this game is being developed at, there are people like, why is it so slow? And that's because they don't understand. They're not really working on this game. They're working on Squadron 42. And I know all you guys know that because I repeat it like a broken record. But that is...
It's easy to forget. I forget it. How many times you told me to pull my head in when I'm just like, I just want the thing. And you're just like, it's not going to happen, man. Just wait, be patient, shut up and wait, And that's just how it is. Because it's... you just got to understand that it's not only are they making they're focusing on Squadron 42, but the scope of Star Citizen itself is so colossal. It's massive.
Well, look, and me and Algo have talked about the opening of the floodgates once Squadron 42 is done, but the other way to look at it is it's not really the opening of the floodgates. The other way to look at it is they'll have the team there to actually make Star Citizen. They don't have, they've only got 200 developers that are now actively kind of starting to work on the world and the systems and that of Star Citizen, where previously they were all working on Squadron 42. It's not like Grand Theft Auto where they had 1,400 people working on that game from go to woe. They started as 8 people in a garage, and it took them years to build the team. And we're up, at the start of this year, what was it, 860 people? That's probably grown now to 900 or 950 or wherever they are. I don't know where they are, right? But the other part of it is literally that they are building that team to build Star Citizen. They've only ever had a small team working on it, and everything was overflow. You know, think of it this way: if a guy in 2 days can build all those racetracks for the Grey Cats, how long does it take a team to actually build out mining? Right? You get where I'm going with this. Like, it just shows you they're working on other shit that is more important that they are not showing us because it's all locked, because it's a single player game they don't want to ruin. It's that thing. Like when Squadron 42 comes out and it's as big and as awesome as we all expect it to be, then people will go, oh, so this is what they were working on. It'll be a penny drop moment. And I know everyone here knows that, but you know, it's why so many people shit on Star Citizen, because you look at Star Citizen and it looks like nothing's happening. And that's because nothing is happening. It's all happening behind closed doors on Squadron 42. So and that'll change. It'll change because you'll start to see a lot more active development, and we're already seeing that in the last couple of years. Look at the salvaging's come along because people are starting to move away from Squadron 42 and onto Star Citizen. And as that happens, you'll see, and more people come in as well. You'll see not just more ships, more locations. Once server meshing clicks and that finishes and Pyro rolls out, I think the time between Pyro and the next system will be a lot shorter than you think it's going to be. Like,
well, they've already done some development on Nyx, right?
They've done a lot of systems actually. There's the line of 5 and there's Lear, right? And I think Lear is more smoke and mirrors, but the others, so from Orion right through Stanton to Terra's probably the least worked on one, but they've worked on Nyx and Pyro, and they're all connected. There's a line of 5, and I think that's what they're going for, because obviously if you've made Squadron 42, they've literally said that Orion is based after the events of Squadron 42. They can just take the Orion system and chuck it straight into the PU. It's done, you know, and leave it in its end state of what, you know, all the things that play out. So maybe a few planets blow up or whatever, but that's how the PU will have it when it's finished. So basically, you get a free system from that, and then all the other ones they've done. And if you look at the other systems besides Stanton, they're a lot quieter. They're like Pyro, where there's only one landing zone in Pyro. You know, Nyx has, they've done Daymar or Delimar or whatever it's called. They'll go back and rework that landing zone, I'm sure. But then if you actually look at the system of Nyx, it's a little bit like Pyro, where it's pretty lifeless by comparison. So it's got a big asteroid belt, and that's where Nyx is. It's a planetoid located in an asteroid belt. It's essentially just a big asteroid. And there's not much else in Nyx. Again, they may rework it and detail it up and things like that. But Stanton was deliberately chosen because it had so many different environments and it had more landing zones than any other system, because of the big, Hurston and Crusader and stuff like that. But normally when you go into a landing zone, into a new system, it's lucky to have one landing zone. A lot of the systems don't even have them, So, and if you think about the time it creates stuff, with the way the tools they've got now in the procedural generation, the landing zones are the most complicated part. And we're already seeing the tech that they're moving towards with that is leading towards procedural generation for that, so they can procedurally generate landing zones too. And then, they want to procedurally generate everything and then go back and put in 30% different art assets. Like, look at all the space stations. There's a really good example. They all look slightly different. Like, they'll have something that says, Everest Harbor or something like that, but they still fundamentally look like they all came out of the same factory. But you can even look at things like ArcCorp and Hurston. The elevators are exactly the same, but the lightings and the textures change. So you can see that all being propagated across an entire galaxy to change everything. And that's what they're leaning towards. It's just being tools, getting those tools up. And how many times have they rebuilt Stan at this point? A dozen?
Yes, that's a very good point. Yeah.
So, and the last time we heard about them building it, it took 3 guys 2.5 months. Was it 2.5 weeks? God, I can't even remember. I've heard it that long ago now. But the point I'm trying to get at is, if that's how long it takes them to procedurally generate one system that has all those landing zones, take out the landing zones and just think about how quickly you can procedurally generate systems. It's pretty damn quick, right? So what we get at the release, I think they're better knowing Chris Roberts. I think they're going to go for quality. So we'll probably get 10 systems at launch and they'll just move out from there. Right. And again, the more people, like me and Algrid worked out that if you had 50 people just working on planetary systems, right? Now, of a team that's meant to be 750 people, I've taken 50, right? And if just 50 were working on just the planetary systems, it would take them less than 2 years to do all 100, right? So it's all possibly doable, and that's just based on the math of what I was saying about how long it took them to redo Stanton. So so it's all totally possible now with the tools they've got, and obviously the linchpin, or the thing that will take the most amount of time, is those bespoke landing zones. But again, if they start with the procedural generation of cities and then go back and put in bespoke pieces into every city, and then here's the thing. If I was building a procedural generation tool like they're building, wouldn't you just add more and more assets over time to build out said procedural generation libraries?
You would create different design language for each one of them. So like every time you created something procedurally, it would look unique in and of itself, but it could follow the same rules. You're 100% right.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this. So one of the examples I gave to Algrid, and I think I did this on the stream, I said, why would you build a statue when you could build a procedurally generated statue system? So it can spawn, is it in marble? Is it in gold? Is it in whatever? What
posture?
What is the posture of the... Because you can take a character that's in game and put a different texture on them. You know, so do you have a human? Do you have human? Do you have a cow? Do you have an alien? Do you have a different head on it? So there's so many different ways you can do that using the assets they already have. And so I was just trying to give that as an
example.
Exactly. You get what I'm going with this really quickly. And that's just one thing. And then you roll that onto shops, you roll that onto vehicles, you roll that onto the street walk, the pavement, the quality, the level of tech. They already have all these systems in place and all these things they've planned. We know they're going for low, medium, and high tech. We know that they've got, do you have medical facilities? Do you have a refinery system? You can see very quickly, rather than putting it into making these bespoke areas, just add more and more procedural generation so it just looks different to everything else that came before it.
It's not wild, useless procedural generation crap like No Man's Sky too. Like there's a lot of parameters that you can see. They've like, you build exactly like this in this manner, and you can see like with the tools that they showcased, you can see that the parameters that they can input gives them a very large degree of control over how it's procedurally generated. And then all they got to do is go through and touch it up, change things that they don't want or would like. We
talked a bit about this when they were talking about Port Alisar versus Seraphim Station, right? And if you break down what is Port Alisar, can you tell me, like, if you think about it, what are the... So it's the rings on the outside, right? That's what a lot of people talk about, but I'm talking specifically inside. What is that one... There's one thing that sets that apart from every other station. Do you know what it is?
The mercenary section?
It's the ASOP terminal.
Oh.
It's got a unique ASOP terminal. So why not just take that and make it a different... Because right now, all the ASOP terminals are exactly the same, are they not? So why not just have another... Like, that's the second one. So instead of having this one little room that everyone has, make it a different size ASOP terminal. And why can't that be a thing? Why can't there be 3 different size ASOP terminals and they spawn in different ways? And that globe that's there for... you know, it's meant to be Crusader, obviously, but that globe that's there for... That's Port Alisar's thing, but what if that can change and it's a different hologram? What if it's instead of it being of Crusader, what if it's of the station itself?
Yeah, but you're saying what if, but like I'm sure that's already the case with like, because they're largely built modularly like that anyway. So
that's all I'm trying to get at, is like you can quickly see how. I reckon if they just had the custom ASOP terminal, like rebuilt that room and rebuilt it in the room system, people wouldn't be complaining, because everything else is pretty much replicatable, right? Like all the shops are very similar to all the other shops. Obviously the layout will change because they're not quite the same as the other shops. The only other area I can think of is that outdoor window that looks out across the pads, but pads are going away. So you're going to lose those anyway. So you just have a window like you do in all the other stations. You're back to where you were, you know? So it really comes down to that ASOP terminal. And the rings that we've seen on Port Alisar, you can already see that in other stations already. like there are what's that one that you and I went to? Was it C2 Crusader 2 or something like that? And you can actually see the rings of Olisar on it as well. So there are you fly around the stations in game and you'll find other stations in game that have the Olisar rings on them. They just don't have 3. They've got like 1 or 2. You know, so that's already a thing that they've put in there because they knew that they were going to have to do that at some point. So I just keep coming back to the ASOP terminal again. Like the bunkers, where they've talked about now they're going to have actual different rooms in every single bunker and stuff like that. It'll be the same thing in stations eventually. Right now, they've only got the same rooms in every single station. How much does that change as soon as the medical layout becomes different in every medical thing? The Galleria is different in everything Galleria, and not to mention that the textures change too. So instead of let's take a Bajini Point versus say Everest Harbor, right? Everest Harbor, you'd expect it to look a lot more like Lawville, so you'd get the yellows and those darker tones. But then when you go down to Bajini Point, you'd have the white and the maroon from ArcCorp. Once those colors started playing, not just internally, by the way, but externally.
Yep.
So right now, all the stations, what are they? Yellow? They're like that black and yellow type of thing?
Yeah, like grays and stuff, yeah.
You can see it very quickly. Very quickly how it all starts to roll out.
It's not just that. Like once you look at like design language changing on like entities they spawn in during procedurally generating stations, you can also look at how they like the AI, once they got AI functioning properly, they could have different design language. So like when you run into someone that's someone from Hurston because they wear a particular type of fashion or a different type of drip, and you go to ArcCorp and they all dress differently there too.
Well, it's even on the ships as well. Like the Crusader security has different colors to Hurston security and stuff like that. The other thing I was thinking of just as you said that was the pyro stations. They're completely broken up and stuff like that. What about the mixing between that? So half the station is damaged and half the other station is totally fine. What happened? There was a Xeno threat like event, and the station got attacked. So half the station just doesn't work right now. So I'm sorry, you can't go to Kasabla because it doesn't exist. You could see things like that. So dynamic events actually affecting the world we're in as well. That's why I keep coming back to the city being able to change size and stuff, because they've talked about dynamic events to the cows come home. And how are they going to do that? Dynamically. So everything has to be able to ebb and flow and change. Everything from cities to planets to ships to people. Everything.
Well, it's not on anywhere near on the same scale, but even like 6 years ago on Warframe, where they created trading hubs around like their verse. There was an event, it didn't go well, and for science we let one of them get blown up, and it's gone. Like they never brought it back, I don't think. It's been gone that whole time because we just like we thought they were bluffing. They weren't. It's just a wreckage there now. But so like if they can do that, DE can do that, man. What CIG would be able to do with being able to procedurally change things as well using parameters, it's gonna be crazy. And that's if they go down that route, which I'm sure they will. But like,
I'm going to bring up something very old now that I would be interested to know if you've heard of. Have you ever heard of Operation Pitchfork?
No.
You might have looked that up, and I think a few people here might remember what I'm talking about. But back in the beta, like way back in the Kickstarter of Star Citizen, because they talked about how things were going to work, someone came up with a plan, was like, when beta is on for Star Citizen, what we're going to do is, as the beta's ending, everybody in the game that they can possibly get, they're going to send them to one Vandal system and try and take control of that system just to see what would happen, right?
Yep.
So that is kind of akin to what you were just saying. So that's still been a plan, but I haven't heard about Operation Pitchfork in probably 5 or 6 years. But someone brought that up, and that is a plan. So when we finally go into beta in Star Citizen, they want to test the water before, and it's a really good test if you think about it, because it's going to show everyone how the system works, and it's akin to what you're saying about that station not coming back. So if we go into their Vandal system and take it back, does it all change and flip over to become a soul system? Does it become a part of
UEE just strolls in there?
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So it's essentially a really good test of the system. And not only that, like the Vandal are meant to be like really hard to push out and all that shit, but when all of us rock up, how's that going to be? So it's a really good test of the system, and it's going to show what we can do as players and things like that. It's also going to test the water on, like, that 90% of the world is made up of AI and all that sort of stuff. So it was a clever idea, whoever came up with it, and I really think CIG will appreciate it as a test. So I do think even then themselves will bring it back up when beta rocks around eventually. Yeah, and I think you'll get a lot of people's like, yeah, well, we got nothing to lose. It's all going to be wiped. I'll go in with my Kraken and, hurrah, like last big bang before everything's wiped and we start again. So this is human versus AI Vandal battle, and it sounds really cool. And I think you'll probably, it's, as I said, it's been many years since anyone talked about it, but I think it'll raise its head again when it's time. So we'll see.
That would be great. Funnily enough, the next question bounces off this one really well, and it's what solar system would you say you're looking forward to the most? And that's by Retro Gamer.
It's really hard for me because I'm one of those people, I think I'm going to kind of go lots of different places, and I think I'm going to be more of a jack of all trades type of gamer. I don't think I'm going to go, right, I'm just doing cargo. I'm going to kind of go where I'm needed. And our grid's a bit the same. Because we've learnt so much about the game, we don't think we can just stay to one thing.
I've got one that I'm interested in a little more than the rest from what I've looked into, and I'm not like super up there on the lore, so forgive me if I get this a little wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's called Kins. The Kins system, I'm pretty sure, is like a lost empire, like the peoples don't exist anymore. The Banu found their planet and settled it. Like, I'm interested to know what type of like lost technology there might be, or mysteries behind their disappearance. Maybe we don't realize this, but the Banu are actually like savages and just like wrote their own history. Maybe they wiped them out completely.
Actually, Banu don't record their own history.
Well, there you go. That's even better. Like, no one knows what happened to Kins, right? So,
so they could have forgotten.
Maybe there's a reason they don't.
They could have forgotten that they wiped them out. Because they wiped them out 500 years ago and they just all forgot because they don't record their own history.
And I want to go and discover that and see if there is, like, there's a really great lore team behind CIG. And I would love to go there and just see, like, how the Banu did settle the planet. Like, there's a lot of really cool lore behind the Banu as well. And, like, on my stream, we have this saying that we nicked off one of the live streams, like, party like a Banu. So, like, they just sound like really cool peoples. And, but that them settling a planet that's kind of got like this lost civilization, this technology that no one understands and stuff like that, I'm really keen to find out about it.
Yeah, there's lots of cool systems like that. Like, did you know there's a system that was settled by the UEE, and the wormhole closed behind them. So they've been lost for like 150 years behind this wormhole that's closed, and you can tell definitely at some point,
that's some Warhammer shit.
That's going to open. And we'll all go in. And what's to say new wormholes won't open and new systems will be found and all that stuff?
What's to say that things won't come out at us? Like the UAE might have like just like that fleet could have grown like to crazy proportions.
Well, think about StarCraft. Do you remember StarCraft? StarCraft had 3 prison ships that went out, and that's how StarCraft started, right? And 2 of them crashed near each other and one really far away. And they ended up having wars between all 3. Because they grew up with, it took 200 years till they found each other again after the crash. 200 years. Think about what's happened in the last 120 years for us. We've gone from horses and carts to cars and planes and computers and iPhones and all that shit. Like, that is a long period of time, 120 years. They had 200 years not to see each other or know each other. It would totally drastically change all culture.
And what did they find there? What did they find there? What are they bringing back?
Yeah.
Or maybe they were wiped out and like that wormhole was maybe reopened and whatever was there came back. We don't know. It could be a whole new threat, a whole new system.
Did they share tech with each other? Do they have tech that is vastly superior to us? Have they evolved to not even be human anymore? 200 years is a long bloody long time. But you get what I'm trying to go. The really cool stuff with this game is all the stuff yet to come. They are gonna, like, there's all these cool systems. Like, we have a whole system like Tampa that's a giant, massive wormhole. We have that. We have magna planets where you land in the cities are in tubes. We have an entire planet of water. We've got all the underwater stuff to do. We've got boats yet to come. We've got agriculture. We've got all these things yet to come that we're at the infancy of this whole thing.
I can't wait for the space/submarine hybrid ships we can get.
and all the worlds they're going to build that we can't even think of. You know, think of all the cliche Star Trek stuff, like all the planets that phase in and out of existence, to, you know, like time. What's that? Was the one on Voyager where they the Voyager stopped in orbit, and over a period of like 2 weeks, because time operated differently, the appearance of Voyager on that planet spurred them technologically, that they went from the Stone Age to in front of Voyager, and they actually shot Voyager, ended up knocking Voyager out of because it was going to blow up their planet or something, because it was causing a gravitational thing. But like, you can see all that. We could find somewhere where time operates differently.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
there's so many different things that they can do.
I could see that for sure. Because like when you're writing your own story, the sky's the limits with where you want to go with it. Especially when they've already shown that they're not afraid to go into like some really crazy territory with like different alien species and some of the lore behind it.
Yeah.
So like, and you've seen how in depth they've gone with it too. Like there's like they've created languages for these aliens. You know,
and you know, a video that we did that was taken and went viral a while ago. We did a video called Stanton is Tiny Whiny or Puny. And then people started talking about the bigger systems in the game. You know, like Stanton is only 4 AU, you know, we got 3 times that with Pyro, but there is literally a system like Tampa, the really big one that's just a wormhole. I know that's probably not the best example, but there's also the Killigan system. Those things are like 400 AU across. That's literally 100 times the size of Stanton. It's just ridiculous how big some of these systems are. So there's so much more to come. And I just, that's what excites me. That unknown, that exploration of what is to come. And it all starts with the gameplay. And we're just starting to see that trickle in now.
So people have to think about when they look at ships like, you know, the Carrack and the Odyssey and all those other ships where you get in and take off and, you know, survive alone and discover new things and all that type of stuff. And they see those and they're like, but what am I going to go and discover? Like, and they look at the game as it is now, but how it's going to be is I think a lot of people are going to be pretty gobsmacked when they really look into just how expansive it's actually going to get to.
Yeah, and it might have taken them 10 years to build the tools, but the reason they're building the tools is so they can roll it out at speed. And I think we'll all appreciate it when it actually starts appearing. And unfortunately, it's all behind Squadron 42. I've been waiting for Squadron 42 to come out because, not just for Squadron 42, but I always knew it was going to be the sign of the, what do you call it? Golden age, so to speak, of Star Citizen. Because that's when the floodgates are going to kind of open and we're going to see a lot more game actually come out. And they're actually going to be able to talk about it, you know? I like, a lot of people are like, you think about what's going to happen with Squadron 42. They're going to release Squadron 42. Most people are going to go off and play the game, right? But I want to be there on the ground floor at the CitizenCon when they do that, because the developers, for the first time ever, are going to be able to open their mouths and say, this is what happened. This is what we went through. All those things. Because I was there towards the start of this journey, and I kind of feel like I want to be there at the end. And Agrid's the same. So, I can play the game in a month's time after that, or a week after it, whatever. You know, the game will still be there. But for me, it has been this journey with the people. And I know people listening here, it's a journey with you guys. We've all been through this in mega wait for this to get out. But it really is, not to kick you in the teeth, but it's just the start. The 10 years we've waited was just the beginning, you know, and whether it goes for another 10 or 20 after that, I honestly think this game has got the potential to outlive Chris, to be honest with you. But
no, it could, especially if they keep updating things like game engine, the graphics, all that type of stuff, introducing, you know, features.
It'll be his legacy, so to speak. He'll retire at some point and pass the torch. Yeah, absolutely. Like I'm really looking forward to Squadron 42 coming out, because then I can get an F8 Lightning, and then after that I don't care. I'm not really a single player game type person. Like I'm really not. So I'll play it. I'll get the Lightning, and then I'm gonna like just leave that one where it is. I think for me it'll probably be like something like Half-Life or something like that. I don't know about you, but like good single player games I'll replay every couple of years or something like that. I still crack out Half-Life and I can crack through that in a day, you know, because I've played it so many times. But Star Citizen having a lot of replay value, good single player games. Look at Starfield. We've got Starfield around the corner. People are absolutely losing their mind for that, you know, because it's just got so much depth to it. I just have this problem with single player games that when I know I'm on playing single player games and there's no matter what I do, it's not affecting someone else, like it's just me, it kind of turns me off, and I don't know how else to phrase that. I can get caught up in a really good story, but for me, a lot of those Fallout games and the story's just not been quite there for me. Half-Life I was able to get behind, you know, and some of the Star Wars stuff I can get behind, but I don't know. I'll probably try Starfield at some point, but I don't know. Bethesda's history is always echoing in the back of my mind, and it's just not a company I feel like. A lot of people love what they do. I just have not liked the way they treat customers, so it's always been this thing for me.
Like I'll play it. I've already said as much. Even though I'm not right into single player games, and I'll do the same for Squadron 42. And like I'm going in there with zero expectations, and I don't really care. I hope it's amazing and it's phenomenal and it blows everyone's mind, because it's only good for games when games are brilliant when they release. That's like it brings up the bar. Like we don't need to call James Cameron for that. They can do it themselves. You know what I mean? So like. I feel like it's going to be really good. Like, look what Baldur's Gate did. It really caused some ripples because everyone, like the developers and journalists, are just like, this sets unrealistic expectations. No, it shows us what is possible if a game company gives a shit.
Yep.
That's the truth of it.
Well, let's look at Starfield in a different way then. Do you think Starfield's going to hurt or help Star Citizen in the long run? I think it's going to help it.
Well, it's only going to be positive. Like, here's the thing, right? If you get a lot of people who aren't sure whether or not they're going to enjoy a sci-fi experience and they play Starfield and it's a good game, there's only so much you can do with Starfield and mods.
Yep.
You know, like they can always revisit it a few years down the track when there's more mods out than that. But what are they going to look for? They're going to look for the next biggest and best space game that they can go and explore.
But little things like how you can like fly down to an actual planet on Star System, you can't do that in Starfield. It's all just load screens. You know,
not until mods are out. Yeah.
Do you honestly think someone can mod that in? Like the ability to go from space? Okay, you're more confident than I am, but okay, sure.
Or on Skyrim, we're able to mod cities so you didn't have to have loading screens. You just walked into the city. No loading screen, doors just open, you walk straight in. It's the same thing. It's just like you wiping out a loading screen. Or changing it so like a lot of games do it so like you go into an elevator and it loads while you're in the elevator. You know what I mean? Like you can exchange things so they don't seem as much. Like you could fly through cloud cover and that's your loading, you know, while you're flying through cloud cover, making your way down. Like all sorts of different things can happen. You could be completely blinded by a re-entry.
Yep.
So like, you know, you don't know what method they may use, but I'm sure we'll be able to do it.
How much procedural generation, what level do you expect their procedural generation tech to be at? Do you think it's at Star Citizen's level, or do you think it is just kind of a little bit No Man's Sky where it's just randomly generated planets and with bespoke landing zones and it's built around the landing zones?
I'm hoping it's really good. But like I can't comment on that until I see it. And I've been purposely hiding under a rock from this title because I want to go in blind and without expectation.
Yep.
I did the same thing with Cyberpunk. I had zero expectations for that game. I went in there and like I played through it and enjoyed the game, but I do see it for all its flaws it had.
Well, it's like every other Bethesda title. Has any of them come out at launch and been run well?
I didn't have major issues with Skyrim. Like I experienced a lot of the bugs everyone did, but it like I'm the type of dude that laughs at a lot of that.
Yeah.
So like they don't break the game for me. I just found it funny.
They just I've never
had able to enjoy it.
I've never had one come out and they've been smooth. Let's put it that way. You know, like
right.
I'm not even talking about crashing. Like for a lot of people, it's as long as it doesn't crash. Like Fallout didn't crash a lot, but man, it did not. Like it had a terrible frame rate. You know, like you'd go down.
Yeah, I don't remember the frame rate being great.
Yeah,
on Fallout,
and that's because the engine is horseshit. And
well, funny you say that because my GTX 580 that I had in 2011, the 11th of the 11th when Skyrim came out, was it was fine. It ran the game just fine. It had no issues whatsoever running the game, and that's, you know, and I think at that time the 580 was kind of old. It was like it was at least a few years over the hill. Like I don't know, I didn't have any issues with Skyrim. I remember Fallout running like dog shit, but like I said, I still had fun playing those games, you know. And I'm a huge like fan of the lore of Elder Scrolls 2. So I was to watch me stream that game would be painful because I would walk through and read every book I found, just because I enjoyed the lore that much on those games.
Yeah. Waffle brings up an interesting thing though, but we've got Microsoft behind it this time, not just Bethesda. So what do you think that'll change it a fair bit? Like, so one of the things Waffle said is they won't allow mods like Bethesda did. So what's your thought process there? Do you think the game will be
does he mean they won't allow them to try and monetize other people's free mods like Bethesda did, or they won't just allow the game to be modded? Because like you can mod Microsoft games right now, like, you know, just because they say you're not allowed to doesn't mean we can't.
Yeah.
Or that we shouldn't.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what Microsoft has been fairly hands off with the studios that it's purchased though. So
that's true.
I got a feeling that they'll probably just let Bethesda keep doing what they're doing. You know,
a lot of the time Microsoft buys things to basically say to like all the committees that try and stop them from acquiring large assets like that. They go, "Oh sure, we'll share with PlayStation." Only to 3 months later be like, "Fuck you, PlayStation."
Well, that's why that's why they've been doing it, because PlayStation PlayStation just has all these deals to be exclusive to PlayStation, and so to stop those deals, they've been buying up the bigger studios. That's why they brought out Bethesda, so they could get, because otherwise Starfield would have been a 12 months exclusive on PlayStation, and that's the ironically funny thing about it. Like the reason why Microsoft are doing this is because they're trying to stop those deals, because that's what's been killing them. They don't have, like, Sony don't have like heaps more first party titles than Microsoft. They just have better deals in place, and the only way to delete those deals was to buy out the studios. That's why they brought out Bethesda. You know,
like, to go back to the question though, I do honestly think that Starfield's going to be great for Star Citizen. Like I can't see it causing any ripples where like people are going to see the game for what it is, and if you can't, then like if we lose those people, we haven't lost much.
Yeah, they were probably going to fledgling people anyway. I just want to say though, with the Activision Xbox thing, the whole reason they want that, like, let's just take the Call of Duty component of that, right? The whole reason for that is just so it's not exclusive, because Call of Duty has often got exclusive shit on Call of Duty. It's just to stop that. That's why they're doing it. They don't give a shit about whether it's on PlayStation or not, because why would you cancel it? The amount of money that it makes on those consoles is insane, right? So they would not do that. They just don't want it to be exclusive on PlayStation anymore. They just want to stop those exclusive deals. That's all that'll happen. Because Microsoft are a company at the end of the day. You're not going to cockblock yourself from all that money. And realistically, if you took Call of Duty and put it on only on Xbox, I don't think people would move an entire console for one game. I know there are people that would, but not everyone.
Not everyone, no. Yeah. Like
some people can't afford to.
Man, I can't even remember the last time I played a console, to be honest with you, other than my Switch, Nintendo Switch. Like, it's just like an actual sit down in front of the TV console. Like, if it doesn't come out on PC, I don't buy it. And that's
the reason why I think consoles have fallen off a little bit is it's a little bit of the time thing, right? Back when I was a kid, you couldn't just play across the internet. So you had to go around to someone else's and sit on the couch and play together, right? It was like LANs. Look what happens with LANs. Used to go around and play LANs because LANs were fucking sick. Nobody does LANs anymore because you can just do it across the internet, because the internet's now fast enough that we don't have to go to other people's places. You know, it's the same thing. Consoles are dying, so to speak, and look at them. They're becoming more and more PC-like. They are basically PCs for people that can't afford to buy a PC. That's essentially what they've become. And eventually, look at the people that buy them. They tend to be younger because they don't have cash flow. But as soon as they get a job and they have cash flow, they buy a PC and move on to a PC. That's essentially what's happened. If you look at the last 20 years, right? And that's what's going to happen. Consoles are going to slowly move into PC. Look at what's happening already. Sony, for the first time in the last couple of years, has actually started selling their games on Steam. That is the death knell. Right there is the death knell. Why the fuck would I ever buy a console anymore now? Like I haven't brought a PS5. Why? Because the only reason I didn't buy I brought a PS5 was I wanted those exclusive games I couldn't get on the PC. I'd never buy the Xbox ones because the Xbox ones already came to PC anyway, eventually. So now with the PlayStation doing it, I've got no reason to buy a console anymore. At all.
Yeah. I understood the old argument of like the ease of use and functionality of the console was easier for a lot of people, especially extremely computer illiterate people. Like I've still got friends nowadays that just can't make the jump to PC because the keyboard scares the shit out of them. Like they can't just sit down in the lounge with the controller.
That's no longer a thing. All the console controllers work on the PC. I
know that. I have a friend. I mean, just like sitting in front of a PC with the keyboard scares them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I had a friend that is an Xbox gamer, and still to this day, he has a PC, right? He plays all of Fallout 3 and all those. He'll be buying Starfield, I guarantee it, right? Mm-hmm. He plays all of them with a controller. Every single one of them.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, Space Tomato jams on Star Citizen with a controller, doesn't he? I don't have anything against controller.
No, I don't think he does. I'm not sure about that one, to be honest with you. I'd have to ask him.
Ask him next time. I'm pretty sure he plays on a controller. I could be wrong. I'm just saying I think he does. Press on the X button on the controller, turn on the PC.
But I reckon that's what'll happen. I reckon eventually Microsoft will have a PC console type of thing. It was the Xbox PC. Look at the merging between Windows and Xbox at the moment. Look, you can actually go onto your PC now, and there's an Xbox component where you can go through and get your Xbox Live account. You can buy a Game Pass and all that. They are starting to go together.
Hey man, that's how I'm playing Starfield, because I'm not paying the price for that.
But that's essentially
what I like it.
What console? If you look at the last several consoles, they have AMD CPUs and GPUs. That's what they're becoming. They're just a customized PC with a custom UI. And the current Xbox just runs a version of Windows. That's what it is. It's a custom Xbox Windows. That's all it is, you know. And you break that all down, you start to see the gaps are closing. They're not, and it's not going to where consoles where, like back when this game, if you go back and look at the original Kickstarter video for Star Citizen, publishers were trying to convince people that PCs were dying because they wanted to. It's what they wanted.
Consoles.
Yeah, they wanted consoles because then they had more control and they could make more money because games cost more. They wanted you to buy consoles. So they say, PCs are shit, so everyone will go buy a console. Don't believe publishers. Publishers are the fucking devil. And the people are complaining about Star Citizen not having a publisher. That's why, because it's fucking amazing, because they suck balls. You know, if you can get rid of EA and get rid of, you know, yes, money makes the world turn around, so to speak, but that's money. Like, look at what Microsoft is doing. They're just letting Bethesda do what they do. That's what you got to do with creative types. You let them do what they do, and the things comes out better. Yes, you can have a bit of bloat and stuff like that, and you get feature creep and stuff like that, but then you get... I think it makes things better. Any game that you've played, you tell me this, noob, any game that you've played with, and the date was when it's done, has that not been a better game?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. But... yeah, I was scared for PC only at one point in my life when Windows 8 came out and it looked like an Xbox dashboard, and I like immediately uninstalled it and put Windows 7 back on. It was just that was the only time I was worried for PC, and then they quickly went away from that with Windows 10, which was nice. Like if you count in Microsoft, you've got like, you know, what is it? It's like XP, Vista 7, 8.
It seems to be every odd,
10. It's every second Windows is great.
Every odd number is shit. So we're going to. That's why I've moved to Windows 11 because it's shit.
11.
I'm waiting for 12. I'm waiting for 12 because I know 12.
Stop.
Yeah.
They're going to stop support for 10 before 12 comes out. That's how they get you.
Yeah. But they've given everyone that's got 10 a free upgrade to 11 anyway. So yeah.
Windows 8 was a touchscreen nightmare miracle. I hated it so much. But yeah, the like you're right, but every second Windows sucks. So like you know, from XP onwards, every second edition sucked.
Well, it's like they try to force in all these new features. Like at the moment, one of the reasons why people don't like 11 is there's some kind of gamer thing that runs in the background, and you lose 10% performance just because you're on Windows 11.
Oh, you're talking about the scheduling thing that was made terribly?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it recently, but yeah, they basically said, like, if you have a Windows 10 game and a Windows 11 game, for some reason, just running on Windows 11, it's 10% worse. So if I'm playing Star Citizen, I have 70 frames on Windows 10, that means I'd go down to like 62 frames on
I can't speak for that. I moved from 10 to 11 to check it out, and I've been too lazy to change it back. But I haven't noticed a performance dip.
Okay.
I definitely notice it's not as stable.
Yeah.
I know that for sure. But like, yeah, it's just like I was running a way higher clock as well on Windows 10 than I was 11.
And you know how you said they're going to turn down Windows 10 before they start up 12? That won't happen if people don't move. It was the same thing. Like, look at Windows XP and Windows 7. They fought that for years, and you can still now pay money to run Windows 7. There are businesses that have paid extra money to keep it working because it runs more stably. So if we don't all move over to 11, which is what they want us to move.
When I was working in IT, dude, we had government computers and point of sales computers that were running XP underneath the overlay. Yeah.
Yep.
And it was like we were installing like this software over the top of XP and going like this is so easy to break into and hack. Like this is insane that you're still running this.
I'll tell you something that you'd know as an Australian. So Harvey Norman until recently, and I mean when I say recently, I'm talking in the last 6 months, right? They were still using dot matrix printers. So for the people that don't know what I'm talking about, is they are the printers that had the dotted paper down the side and you had to tear off the edges. Do you remember those from back in the day? Where the wheels, they had wheels on the side of the printer and you had this tear off paper, right? That paper was around in the 80s. So for 40 years, they've been using dot matrix printers and that paper ran out. The factories that were making them stopped using them. So Harvey Norman, which is a massive retailer here in Australia, finally had to move on to A4 printers. And so they had to actually pay money to get their software updated. They're still running software that runs on MS-DOS.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
That's insane. That's how tight they are on money. They wouldn't even update their system to run on normal modern PC hardware. They just ran it all through like PowerShell and the command prompts. Yeah, that's insane.
I'm probably gonna butcher the name, but Akacha K is really right. So the efficiency calls on newer processors works properly on Windows 11 because of the workload scheduling was actually they worked hand in hand with Intel, like Microsoft did, to make sure it worked properly. And that's why a lot of benchmarks at the time were actually that were run on Windows 11 for both were favoring a lot of Intel processors than that because
and they had they did have a lot of AMD problems at the start, didn't they? And I think
so many AMD problems. So. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about, Akacha K. Yeah. I binge watch so much Gamers Nexus, it's not funny. but yeah, it's I think that's what you mean by that. But some bank ATMs use Windows 98 and 97. Yeah, I've seen when we used to install a lot of that stuff because that was part of my job when I was working on IT. But some of the ancient operating systems that people were installing things on, it was just wrong. It's just wrong. We should definitely move on to another question.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's good to go off topic a little bit. So yeah, but yeah. All right, next question then.
Okay, so we got which game loop are you looking forward to the most? A follow-up question by Retro.
Oh, we are literally down to the third last question, guys. So yeah.
Wait, what? No, we're not.
No, I'm on the wrong one. Right, you said retro game. That one there, Matrix is start.
All the way up this, yeah.
That
got,
one.
We got a lot.
What features would you like to see doesn't play? Shit, no.
What unreleased game loop are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah. This sucks when you can't do the emoticons. I might have to give you some power for this channel. Hold on, just give me a second. Edit channel, permissions, add members or roles. Date. There you are. Done. Sorry to make this awkward. You can view the channel. You can manage. I don't know which one I got to tick for you to be able to do emojis. Shit. I'll just give you control of everything. I trust you with that one. So like, I'll just tick everything, and you can do whatever you want.
Chat, do I ban execute now?
You can't. You'd only be able to ban me from that channel. Yeah, I'm just ticking everything here. There you go. You should be able.
Sorry if you can hear my dog running around in the background. She's very excited. It's breakfast time.
Can you do emojis now? You should be. Hopefully.
Let's have a look. Yep, I can. I can add a reaction. Perfect.
Too easy. There you go.
Rightio.
All right. So what was the question again? What unreleased game loop are you looking forward to most? Can I say something cheesy and say I'm looking to all of them in a way? That's a part of this. I've been here for so long, especially when they start to interconnect. I love how everything becomes connected.
Yep.
You know, how you can see how salvage will work with mining, or, you know, it's those little things you're not expecting. So yeah, I don't know. I find it hard to pick one. I don't know about you. What is there one that you're looking forward to, or are you more like me?
Oh yeah. Oh no. I want monster hunting. I want to go out on a ranger and just hunt some shit for a couple of days. Just me in the wilderness trying to survive. I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan, like the video game series. And Jesus Christ, I just want to fight giant crabs, man, and giant monsters, things that attack me from everywhere. Like, I want to be able to go into a cave and be scared shitless for my life the whole time because there could be things in that cave hunting me.
Did me and show you that board game that we backed? The Primal? Did I show you that at all?
No.
I will show you that later. It's basically Monster Hunter, the board game. Anyway.
You want to hear some scary noises when going into dungeons? Yeah, that's what I'm all about. Like, I want to hear that happen. I want to know that I'm not alone out there in the wilderness when I'm playing the game. And crotch spiders, yeah, got to watch out for them.
I think you're gonna get you're gonna get a little bit of everything in this game. Everything from horror to sci-fi to survival.
Oh,
yeah. So everyone's gonna
I want
find
some Dead Space. I want some Dead Space horror. I want monster hunting. That's what I'm about. Yeah.
Well, one of the things when they pitched the Reclaimer, right, that really sold me on the Reclaimer was they talked about how sometimes there's an exploration element to the Reclaimer, right? So when you rock up on another ship, you don't know what you're going to find, and you might go in there and it's got like the one they pitched to me was the whole. Did you ever see Danger Will Robinson? Danger. What the hell is the name of that movie? I've just Lost in Space. Remember Lost in Space?
Yeah.
From 1988 that had Matt LeBlanc, the guy from Friends. The guy that plays Joey in Friends. And there's a scene in that movie where they go on this ship, and it turns out it was a ship that was sent after them, and they went through some kind of time bubble, and they run into a ship that was sent out to find them. And basically they go on there, and basically all these little spider things start coming out of the walls, and they start chasing.
Yes.
Do you remember that scene? So imagine that you with your Reclaimer, you rock up, and there's just like aliens or zombies or whatever you're going to find there, and they've talked about that. And so basically that's what I'm looking forward to on a Reclaimer.
I need that. I need that.
Regular salvage day. Oh shit! It's turned into an action adventure, and I'm on the Nostromo, and aliens are chasing me.
Yeah, and all I got is this plasma cutter.
Yeah,
Shit.
Exactly.
I want that. I need that in my life.
Yeah, so they've talked about that being a thing when it comes to salvage, and I was like, yeah, I want that gameplay. I know it's not going to be there every day, but when it does happen, the shit is going to hit the fan, and I'm going to, like in Hunt or Tarkov, when the adrenaline kicks in, like when I first started playing those games, it was too much. Right now, I can't get enough of that adrenaline hit. Like just like I'm like an adrenaline junkie for that dopamine hit when it hits, and you just go crazy. And it'll be the same thing as Star Citizen. I'll be after those horror shock moments. That's kind of what I'm looking for. So that's the gameplay. Like that's why I fell in love with salvage. It wasn't the salvage part; it's the exploration part of salvage that you're not expecting. That's
potential you might eat at any moment.
Yeah. So salvage.
Alien and Reclaimer. You want a xenomorph inside the Reclaimer, Akeshike?
Imagine the Yeti, or what is it? The Imperial Stalk or whatever. It somehow gets on the Reclaimer. Yeah, I can so see that. Yeah, so
just 100 little what were they called in Stargate? Replicators, the little mechanical things.
Yes,
like heaps of those little pricks around the place. Oh man, like give that to me. That's what I'm looking for in Star Citizen, and I know it's probably gonna come, and I'm happy to sit here patiently and wait for it. So it's good.
I'm going to throw this out here. There was actually a mod that I worked on years ago until MGM actually closed it down. We're working on a Stargate mod, and one of the modes we wanted to do in that was the replicators as a co-op shooter.
Yeah,
so you're actually like shooting all the bugs, but you remember how they had bigger ones, like they could get together and turn into different things.
Yeah,
so that's what we were going to do. So it was a 4-player co-op shooter where you're actually like shooting all the bugs, and then you had to get back through the portal or whatever. So you'd go in, do an objective, and have to get out, and stuff like that. And then we're going to add all the different Jafar in and stuff like that. It never eventuated because of MGM, but like it was that's what we wanted to do. So yeah. hopefully.
See, like that. If we could get something akin to that in Star Citizen, where like you said, you get on a ship, you don't know what's going to be there.
Yep.
Like you got to explore the entire ship. If you're lazy and you skip a room, man, there could be something horrendous in there. You know, and it's a squad wipe. You know, you die, you're gone, and then like you might travel back to get your ship back, and it now could be infected too. You know what I mean? So that's
not only that, the whole crew got wiped out, and you just happen to rock up, and it's like, what happened to all these guys? What's going on? And then you know, so you've logged out for the day. The next crew kind of rocks up to see what the hell's going on, and they all get taken out too, or you know, like, and then all of a sudden, like, you know, a bunch of Idrises rock up and just destroy everything. It's like, well, this thing is, we just can't let this thing survive.
It needs to go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then Hurston rocks up, and they're like, the Wayland Corp, and like, oh, we just want to borrow this for weapons research. You know?
Yeah, we're just gonna take this.
And we're just gonna leave it on this little moon over here and chuck in a few colonists and just see what happens. You know. Like, but yeah, I reckon all those tropes will happen. We'll have all.
I think the Hurslers would probably do that too.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah, I reckon every sci-fi trope's going to come in. I reckon every movie you can list, like everything from underwater to aliens to what's that? The Abyss was underwater. You know, what's some really good ones? Event Horizon, where people go crazy and psychotic and stuff like that.
That'd be cool.
You know, every cliche in Star Trek. I think we're going to see all that. We're already seeing it in the ship designs.
We badly need mobs in Star Citizen. Look, I fully agree with you, and I can't see why they won't do it. But they've got to get the meshing to a point where.
What do you mean by mobs? So is that a mob?
Like ads. You would know them as ads from World of Warcraft, where you have a whole bunch of shit just come at you at once. We don't have that. And I fully agree, but like Starship Troopers, I've said this so many times on my stream. We need a planet that is just so goddamn infected with big ass bugs that I can go down there and see how long I can survive for. You know, like we fly down there, you're basically getting dropped off in a Valkyrie, and like you have to clear the LZ with the machine guns on the side. You get dropped down, you pull the car out, that's your resource for ammo and things, and you got to see how long you can make it down there. Yeah, dropships, exactly, 100%.
The simplest way I can, the first person to put this idea in my head was Level Cap. When he came on, and me and Space were talking to him, and he said, can you imagine they can just make any planet they want, and it becomes a little bit like Ready Player One with Planet Doom. So you could literally go, this is the Hunt Showdown planet. This is the Battlefield planet. This is the Alien Infestation co-op shooter planet. They can do all that. So you can, within the universe, you can have your own little planets and locations that just offer this experience that's not offered anywhere else. And then he said, and then you take that on top of that, and then all of a sudden you put it into the simulator. It's just a piece of software. So you want to play a 4-player co-op shooter with your friend, and he's in Pyro and you're off in Nyx. You just load up and you play it remotely. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. So you don't even have to, if you just want that experience and you don't really give a fuck about the over effects or you know, the carry on effects, you can just, there probably will be people that just log into the simulator, and all they do is ever play this game in the simulator, because all they want is that 4-player co-op shooter experience.
If that's what they're into, then hopefully they can get it. Yeah,
it is an everything game. That's the crazy thing.
Akesha K and Rockstar in chat are basically going down the exact same like brain baby that I had for the planet that I want, which is like, you know, the Starship Troopers planet. But they've already said as well, one thing to bring up is like we're going to have atmospheric challenges where you can't get a ship in there for very long. Because there'll be sandstorms, there'll be stuff like that. Your drop ship is basically like your lifeblood. You're going to fly under that, you know, barrage of shrapnel and bullshit and that sandstorm. You're going to get down there, drop your troop off, clear the LZ, get the car out, and it's got to take off. Otherwise, its engines aren't going to last.
You can make any law reason to make any planet. That's kind of what Level Cap put in my head. Once he kind of said it, it just opened all these things, and I went, wow, you can do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
I just kind of realized, like, they want a system, they can make it, and if they don't want to make it a system, they just make it in the simulation, in those simulation pods. So this is an everything game. And what's to say down the line they don't do crossovers? So let's just take your Starship Troopers example. They get some kind of access to that license, and so they make Starship Troopers a planet, or they make it a game within the game. Star Wars, Star Trek, Stargate.
And they don't even need that. They don't even need the license, really. They could just simply make a planet with giant bugs on it.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. Like if they actually wanted the exact, so if they wanted the Star Wars, the Star Trek, if they can get that license, they can put it with the game within the game, Or what I'm hoping down the line is eventually they kind of will not finish Star Citizen, or they make another team and they go to Disney and say, hey, we want to take this same engine and make Star Wars. And Disney would jump at that, you know, or Star Trek or Stargate or any franchise you can think of. And there's nothing to say that they can't be, well, think about it, it's more money. You just, it's essentially take the game we've got now and it's an asset flip, but it's a huge asset flip. And then the other thing is, what about the engine itself and you restrain it? So what if it's just one planet? Imagine, what's it, Planet Side? And a better one's Battlefield. What if it was the entire Earth? What if Battlefield, you could play World War II and it's the entire Earth?
Yeah. Well, especially with meshing and everything else, it's entirely possible. Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, I fully get it. Yeah. The sky's the limit, and they're only limited by their own imagination and creativity.
And
100%.
time. And money.
Of course, time, money, all that type of stuff. But like when you got other, like you said, if you go to other people like, you know, Disney, whatnot, that's their time, it's their money, you know.
Yeah.
But like with the engine and everything they're building and experience they've got, they'd be able to do some insanely brilliant things. I think that one thing to really look forward to is just seeing as far as they can push the limits within their own company, their own brain baby, see where that goes. Because like if like let's just say Squadron 42 is a blaring success, which, you know, I'm hoping for, I really am.
Yep.
And Star Citizen only grows bigger because of that. It's only going to grow bigger from other titles like
just
Starfield.
Just real quick, if it's not, I don't think Star Citizen will survive. I'm gonna be honest with you, it has to be.
No, I fully agree, because then people are going to be like, oh, this is what we got to look forward to. Shit. Yeah, I fully agree with you.
And I think it will shut up a lot of critics when it finally comes out. I really do.
Me too.
And let's be honest, it's not going to be a game for everyone. No matter what game you make, like let's take Starfield, let's take Mario Party, let's take any game you want. It's not for everyone. Can it be wildly successful? Even the most popular games out there. So what's Baldur's Gate 3? You're playing the shit out of it. Lots of people are playing the shit out of it. It's actually the #1 rated game on Steam of all time at the moment. It's also the 9th most played game concurrently on Steam ever. I'm not playing it. As an example.
That's not for everyone.
You know, it's not for everyone. And Star Citizen will be exactly the same. No matter how popular it is or unpopular, so to speak, for whatever metrics you want to use there, it's still going to be... Like, I don't expect this is going to be the most popular game of all time. I think it'll be popular for several reasons, but especially the number of celebrities. There is an astronomical... Like, most games have one or two. Look at the new Cyberpunk Liberty that's coming out in next month. That had Keanu Reeves, and now it's got two Elvis Aldra with the expansion. But then just look at Star Citizen's campaign; it's got like 32 of them. You know, so it kind of is a different ballpark. And I think that star appeal will draw a lot of people in. And I think,
for sure.
I think it's one of those games that people will play, and it'll steamroll into more people. But again, being a first-person shooter and a flying ship game, all in first person, the multiple paths and all that, I think it's got a lot of appeal. And I think I do draw a lot of parallels between it and Half-Life. I'm expecting an Half-Life level experience, but updated to modern PC specs. And the way they've talked about levels, how you can go through multiple different ways, like you can stealth it or you can brute force it and play and a lot of replayability. You know, so you can play the way you want to play, but also there's that social element. If you think back to Wing Commander, where you could fall in love with one person, so that ruled out another person. So the next time you play through, you swap. You know, or just to see the different thoughts and the experiences. So we got
the same thing with Mass Effect in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I was expecting a game that you could at least play through 3 times, and it would be different. You know, every time.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'll probably play it through once like you, and then in a couple of years' time play it again, and then a couple of years' time play it again. That's what I'm expecting. But if it's not, well, put it this way, I think Paul said it best. He's expecting an 8 out of 10, and I think that's a fair response, don't you? 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see.
I'm looking forward to it either way. Like, really looking forward to it.
At the end of the day, I don't give a shit what critics say. I'm not like that. Like I don't listen to critics. Like, I'll look at You tell me, what do you look at? Do you look at other reviewers, or do you go on YouTube and look at other people's comments before you buy something, or do you just buy it based on your feel these days?
Man, I got so many games already. I kind of try to shy away from a lot of the new releases. Like, I'm a huge D&D nerd, so like I couldn't help it but get Baldur's Gate, and I've been following that since it went to beta. Like I'm a whore for sci-fi, so you know, Star Citizen's obviously a thing. So like games I kind of just, man, if it's really caught my attention. And I very rarely play something on release. Yeah. Like very rarely play something on release. Like I don't, like if I wanted to, you know, jump on every new game and play it on release and stream it and stuff like that, man, I'd be way broker than I already am now. And I wouldn't be able to keep up with it all. I wouldn't have enough time. So I play what I like, and if people want to chill out and join me, then that's what we do.
Yeah, that's it. Just play what you like. I think we kind of talked about that earlier on today. Playing other games while you're waiting for Star Citizen is a important thing as well. And there's a video I actually want to do. Me and Argo have talked about it a few times about other games that you can play that teach you things about Star Citizen. We just don't know how popular it probably won't be. Well, there's videos that we like to do that aren't popular, but we'll probably do it at some point because there are. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to get another question in because this one's a good one. With the eventual Retaliator rework, do you think that we'll be able to change out the size 9s for smaller torps down to size 5 and spit a load of size 9 and 5 torps out, make it incredibly flexible?
I think so. Eventually, you'll be able to do that.
It's modular, so
yeah, they've talked about that before. So look at things like the Gladiator. They talked about the Gladiator when it was originally sold being able to drop bombs, like in-planet bombs, much like the E1, the A1 and the A2. So yeah, absolutely, I think you'll be able to do that. They've even talked about the Retaliator being able to drop bombs as well. So yeah, eventually. I think it's all eventual, but it's just how far down the road as that can, because again, they've been working on Squadron 42. It all comes back to that. I think anything is possible. It's just
one thing we do know at least with Squadron. One thing we do know at least with Squadron is they are doing work to the Retaliator, at least. So that's nice to know. That's at least if you're a fan of the Retaliator, you're in luck because it's in Squadron 42.
And they're using well, that's one of the reasons they're updating it, because they've got to update it for Squadron 42. But also, they're using a lot of modularity stuff on it now too, as well. So they're doing two things at the same time. The big one though that they had to change was when they moved it from being where the docking ports and that it had a bottom docking port that has to now move to the side, and as soon as you move that to the side, it drastically changes the shape of that ship. So they now need some way to fold out or change. You go look at that ship and put a docking port on the side, it totally changes the outside of that ship completely. So they need now some kind of tech where it folds over the docking port, or the docking port comes out, or something like that. I don't know how they're going to do it. There's multiple ways they can, but when you look at it, you're like, yeah, this is not a small fix.
Like a shroud that comes out and kind of sits onto it, like you see on like planes nowadays.
And because some of the reworks just work, you know how there's an internal ship and there's an external ship. That is something that affects both. So as soon as you're actually playing with the external of the ship, it basically means that there's a process called unwrapping, right? Where it kind of assigns where textures and that go on ships and all the maps. And we know in this game it's got multiple maps. So as soon as you change one little thing on the outside of that ship, it's all going to be unwrapped again, or at least a large section of it has to be unwrapped again.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you do that, it's all going to be rejigged to fit within the texture plane, right?
They've already said that they've had to rejig it just so you can get components in and through doorways and stuff.
Yep. And so as soon as you do that, it is a lot of work. And that's why it was going to take 6 months just to put the door on. But we all know it's taken longer than 6 months now. So I reckon what they were going to originally do with just that, they were like, well, if we're going to redo it, let's just do the whole thing and knock modular, because they were figuring they're going to have to come back and do it again. So it's like, well, instead of doing it 2 or 3 times, let's just do it once and get it all done, and it can be the test bed for modularity. And I think that's where they're going with it. The whole layout's going to change on that. Like it's had 5 size 2 turrets on that. It was the first big ship putting game. It's older than the Starfarer, right? So I think you could say now that the crew requirements from that ship is not 5 people. It does not need 5 people. I would say that is 3 at best. right? So I'd expect them to knock the living quarters smaller. I would hope that they rejig some of the stuff around. I would, the way I would
better turret placement, you could simply make that ship require less crew and be more effective.
Well, we've talked about how you could do it. So we've talked about having it so there's a turret on top and a turret on bottom, and they have the turret at the front slave to the one at the back, you know, so you have a turret gunner at the top and a turret gunner at the bottom and they're slaved, or simply just make the turrets both bigger. And I think that's what they're going to go with. So you'll end
turrets bigger is necessary, I think.
Yeah, so you'll probably have somebody say something like, because you know it's got this really weird awkward turret that's underneath the pilot, you know, you're gonna walk over that. So we're almost expecting that they'll put the back turret at the bottom, and then up the top where the living quarters are at the moment is where the top turret will be. So they'll have it like just a bigger top turret and a bigger bottom turret, and that's it. And that's probably the easiest fix. But you could also leave them smaller and have the chain ones, like I said. And it's a really weird ship where it's one of the few ships where the pilot only shoots the bombs. He doesn't have guns. It's a little bit like the Carrack in that regard, where there are no guns for the pilot, which is interesting. So,
Perseus.
Yes, but I said they're few and far between. Is what I'm trying to get at. There's not a lot where the pilot.
I like that though.
I do too, because it creates teamwork, and you've got to work together. So you got to communicate. Anywhere where you got to communicate, it creates gameplay. Believe it or not. So
yeah. Well,
but
yeah. I'm a fan of that ship. I really am. I like it flies like a bucket of shit, and I love it for it. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you got the sticks and pedals, and you're trying to get this thing to maneuver, and it's a chonker, but it's got a lot of character. It's fun to fly.
I think it'll be good for people to see a big update like that, because we don't get to see big updates like that often. But you can see that, you know, once people see that, they're gonna look at the Starfarer and go, "This is what could happen with the Starfarer. This is what could happen with this." Once they see that big change, they've got a precedence now to look back at things and go, "Oh, well, man, they'll just update this." You can so see it's out of date, they're going to update it. And that's what we've been saying for ages. Like, everything, that very last ship that is ever made, whatever it is, right? So me and Agrid have said for ages it's the Endeavour. So let's say the Endeavour's the last ship that they made, and that is the final standard that everything is made to. They're going to go back to every ship and bring it up to that standard. So things like we were talking about today, like the MSR.
Literally parroted you there earlier on stream saying the exact same thing.
Yeah. So like the MSR only having one entry. They've said they'll go back and they're going to add a second entrance to that ship. They've said that.
Oh, they've said that, have they? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So everything that you have, if you have a ship and it has a problem, I guarantee you at some point they're going to come back. They might not fix your specific problem. I hate the fact that it's beige, you know, like that might not get fixed. But if it has a glaring issue, chances are
bed sheets don't match the drapes.
Yeah, exactly. So they'll come back and fix it. And look at the difference in tech. Like, you can look at it through the game. Like, the MSR was the first ship that got the little panels that you click open on to open, and now you go look at the new ones that, like, I think they went back and added them to the Pisces. The panels between the MSR and the new ones are different. They've updated the tech just on the clicky panels over the last 2 years. So,
legitimately hope they never change the bed sheets on the Starfarer Gemini. It's got the colored sheets. Looks like a kid's bed.
That's another example. You go back to older ships, they don't have panels. You walk up to the door and you have to find the word that just hovers there. They're moving away from that system because obviously it just doesn't work. And you're seeing that as well. Like, we had this inner thought system. It's not working. They showed that off at CitizenCon last year. It's now got this wheel system where you activate and you go up or down on a wheel. Because they know it doesn't work. They tried it doesn't work. They've moved on to something else. And that's what will happen with all the ships. They're going to go back and just... I can sit here and list half a dozen ships just off the top of my head. Super Hornet. Holy shit, does that thing need a... You know, and we know
still
that...
using
But we know they updated it for Squadron 42, but they just haven't given it to us.
Oh, because they want us to sit in the Super Hornet going, oh, we have to fly this fucking thing, and then just go, oh, wow. Yeah, 100%. That's why. Northern Trooper has a question from YouTube. Yeah, my guy. So after Squadron 42 series 1, 2, and 3 is done and out, what would be the next single player game CIG makes? Maybe a Mandalorian style in a Western genre?
No, expansion packs for the Zion and Banu and Tavaran and possibly other races like the Vandal.
And then that'll bleed straight into Star Citizen.
Yeah, and we know that every race has a race behind them. Why is that? Because when you play as that race, you need somewhere to go. and you're not just going to go back into human space and do what you did again. You're going to go out to other places and explore new shit. That's why every race has a race behind them, because they've planned for that.
I know I'll never get this, but I just really want to play as a Vandal.
Yep. You may get it. I don't know how long that'll take, but you may get that. It is a possibility. Don't rule anything out.
No, true. Sky's the limit. I've said that.
Well, can you imagine playing as the Vandal and attacking humans? Some people want that perspective, you know.
I'd do it for sure. Okay.
Look at the gameplay.
But then again,
look at the gameplay it makes. If you can play as a Cyan in Star Citizen against humans, you know, stuff like that, and all the little cultural differences, like, you know, like, or the Banner do a lot of slave trading, so it's totally fine to do that there. And, you know, you might not be able to talk to people because the universal translator's down or stuff like that. So you can see all the gameplay that comes out of that. That's why they're going to do that. Hands down. They've got the money and the time, and it gets to that point, that'll all happen. And they have talked about it. They've talked about making it.
I think that it'll be a lot of fun too, because it'll really shake up the way that you do FPS combat and all sorts of things. Restricted to certain weapon types because certain aliens are smaller, can't carry heavier weapons. Vandal are melee based mostly. They're just stabby.
Yep.
So yeah, it'll really change things up. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yep.
Question from Twitch. Eminent Shadow is asking, how much weight did you lose on your vacation?
Not enough.
I feel you there, brother.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I don't know if it was sweat or just because I was walking around more. I'm definitely not doing as much exercise now I'm home. You know, it's very cold here, so it's hard for me to get out, and like I just don't want to get out and move because it's cold. And I'm just not as social. That was the big thing I noticed. I was just so much more social because I was out and talking to people every day and getting to know people. But here, where I live, I just got no motivation to do that because I know everyone, and I don't click with the people I live around. So it's a bit weird. And I think you'll know this too, Noob. A lot of the people I live like that I talk to on a day, they're all on the computer. All my friends are online. It's really weird. My life's become this online thing, and it's kind of weird. So yeah, I spend most of my time talking to people online. I guess I could just put on a headset and the phone and walk around for a bit of exercise. Maybe that's what I should do. Just chuck on the phone and the headset and walk around and talk to you guys online while I'm walking around. Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
I do need to get out and about more. That's for sure.
Me too, but I'm fucking lazy. Okay, so North. Northern Troopers
someone behind
asking,
me with a taser. Motivation.
It's like cattle prod.
Yeah. I'm not a big drinker.
Great stream content.
Someone said I should go down to the pub. I'm not a drinker, and there are a lot of bogans where I live, so I'm not motivated to go to the pub. But anyway.
Northern Troopers asking, has it been the driest year for Star Citizen / Squadron 42, or has there been a drier year coming back from a 5-year hiatus?
It's really hard to judge. I still think the driest year we ever had was
3.0.
Yeah, there was I think it was one of the 3.0 ones. It was literally 8.5 months with no news. That's the biggest we've ever had. Like, there's still little bits of news, even if like I was away for an entire month. There was literally an 8.5 month period of nothing, because we were all waiting for I can't remember what we were waiting for. There was something that had to go in, and it was going to take them a month, but it ended up taking them 8.5 months. But yeah,
Jesus.
Yeah. Long story short, that would have been the driest period, and I don't think we'll ever get that dry again, because there's always small bits of news, and you know what's the worst in this case? 6 months between patches, and that's when they're, you know, we're putting some big fundamental things in, and they're really focusing on Squadron 42 at the moment. So yeah, yes, it'll be one of the more drier years, but not the driest we've ever had. But yeah,
I think it's going to feel like it because the content that we're getting isn't tangible in game.
Yep.
It's in the background.
Yep.
And like if you want something that you can do, feel, touch, play with, all that type of stuff in game, you're going to be sad. But all the stuff that's happening in the background is way bigger than I think a lot of people really take on board.
Yeah, most games, no matter what game you pick, 90% of what happening is in the background. You never see it, right? All we see is the pretty graphics, but the thing to make those pretty graphics moves and do what they do, most of it you never see.
Think about just all the tools and like and features like the fire that we seen last time, and the new sound tool that we seen today, and that takes time for them to develop them in-house, and then like but we don't see that. Well, we hear some of it and we see some of it when it's in game, but like when it's in game is very different to them just making the tool. That's still in the back end, and the fact that they have that now is huge.
I don't know how
It's
well of a
huge.
good analogy this is, but you know, when you make a movie, like the amount of footage that hits the cutting room floor that never makes it into the movie, there are things cut. Like, look, we've had 2 or 3 systems for Star Citizen that just they tried and they didn't work, so they had to try a different approach. That's the R&D of it. You know, there will be things. Well, what was the Argo UFO ship that was cut? You know, there will be things that just they tried and they didn't work. You know, I don't know what the what was it, 10% or 50%. I got no idea what the percentage will be, but
it doesn't mean we'll never see him again either. It just means they might need different tech for him, or it might be that, you know, it's unusual for a company, whether they're making a movie or a video game or whatever, to just cut that many man hours and that much time. They always try and use what they can,
even if it only ever gets used as making of. Like back when they did the Kickstarter, they're making a making of documentary, and I think half the reason why the production value for ISC is so high is because they're going to just take all that shit and put it into the documentary. So we'll see. But yeah,
very likely. Rightio. Got one from Retro again, Retro Gamer. His question is, what features or feature would you like to see in Star Citizen that you that aren't planned at all, that you know of that aren't planned at all?
It's really hard because there's a lot.
They've got so much.
They've got a lot planned. I don't know, because I think they're hitting all the broad strokes. That's a really tough one. I don't really kind of think of things that I want personally. I just like the way everything interacts with each other. That's really difficult to me, because there was another question Algod and I got asked. They want us to do an episode that is like, what 3 ships that would we rework to make it exactly how we want? And I struggle with that too, because I don't think they're missing a lot of things. I think they're hitting the broad strokes. You know,
is there fishing coming to the game? Can we sit there for rod and go fishing?
I think it'll fall under hunting at some point.
Okay.
It's just how far you want to go with it, you know.
I'm a simple man. I just like to fish in a video game.
It's just how how long, how much time, you know. Like everything takes time, you know. How far do they go with the fishing? Let's just take that as an example. Can you just catch a fish with a rod? Can you actually go out in a fishing trawler and gather an entire school of fish? You can see very differently how long they take to implement. And we probably will get both, because fishing, as I said, is a constrained. You know, I was talking about putting cows in a pen. Fish in a pool is a lot easier to control AI wise than wild animals and stuff like that. So we might see fish before we see grazing cows, as an example. It just comes down to how complicated it is to run on the system. Yeah, I think agriculture is a big one for me, because we know it's there and it's just something they haven't even touched. And think about all the animals and creatures they could make. Yeah, it's quite big, you know. And agriculture pretty much I'm trying to think of a system it doesn't touch, and I don't think there isn't. You know, like
I feel like it's going to be.
So someone will go, oh, but how's it going to affect weapons? Well, maybe there's a rare component in one of the animals that is required for the ammunition of said gun.
Yep.
You know, yeah, it's crazy. It's hard to quantify, because you just don't know where they want to take it.
Or it can work the other way around too. Is like you need a very specific weapon to take out a specific animal. Like, you know, beam weapons, like energy weapons, all that type of stuff will just bounce off the carapace of that big fucking crab thing.
Yeah.
So you got to use a specific, powerful enough ballistic weapon to be able to take it down. It might be really hard to find and not available in the shops. So you got to go and find the damn thing first, or talk to your, you know, your local arms dealer. You know, one of the other players that just is focusing on selling armor and weapons. I did that for like ages and made tons of money just selling Artemex armors, you know, like the ones from Hurston.
Yeah, Rockstar on Twitch makes a good point. Pirates stealing from fishermen. I think that's a part of the thing about pirates. Is pirates are going to have to be able to know what things are valuable, because they might crack into a ship, and if they don't know what that cargo is worth, you know, oh, we got 50K worth of party streamers, you know, or do we take the one valuable monkey that's worth, you know, $2 billion? You just don't know. So that's going to be a part of their knowledge base, is knowing what's valuable.
Sandgrope. That's like the worst dad joke ever, but I appreciate it, my dude. Space
just for everyone's reference, it was this bad, but I'm going to read it out. He goes, I think agriculture gameplay will grow on people. But ching. All right, next.
Or at the very least, on the Endeavor.
Yeah. Sad little man. That's right. Next one. Next question.
All right. So Fat Gus has a question from YouTube. I'm of the opinion that the A1 will be with a good crew, will be extremely devastating on the battlefield. Your org disagrees. How do you all see the A1's effectiveness in the current combat ecosystem? My question to your org is: have they ever been to Jumptown? Because the A1 puts fear in everyone on the ground.
A2
at Jumptown. Oh well, yeah, but like that's the same question.
Well, the A2 does because it takes out the whole area. The A1 is a much smaller bomb. It is going to be a lot more targeted.
Still going to be devastating. You've always got someone on the outside moving stuff to the ship. The ships themselves are going to eat shit.
But an A1 is so much smaller and easier to destroy. An A2 is this huge flying fortress.
It's also a lot faster.
We don't really have a ship that can combat the A2 other than, say, like a Retaliator at the moment, right?
Oh, we just shoot the bombs when they come out. That's what we've been doing at Jumptown. So when it releases the bombs, you shoot the bomb, it blows the A2 up. Yeah.
And we don't have enough players in game to cover all the bases, so we don't have someone that can fly the ship, someone that can defend, all those things. Again, once you've got AI in that in, it'll change quite a bit. So.
The problem with Jumptown and the amount of players there is, if you're looking at it from not a I'm having fun and I'm just doing Jumptown perspective, but I want to make money, the second you get enough people in there to be really effective and counter anything that's going to happen, like someone in the sky to cover A2s, people on the ground, people moving drugs, security, all that type of stuff, it's not profitable anymore when you can just go run bunkers and make way more cash solo.
Yeah.
So, but like the A1, like, man, you go from size 9s to size 5s, but if it carpet bombs the way that I've been led to believe it does, it's going to be devastating still. I think it's going to be gross.
The A2 actually has a module to swap it from the bigger singular, I think they're size 9, size 10s, whatever.
Yep, size 10 Moab.
It has a carpet bombing module that you can put in. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's basically what the A1's going to have. It's just going to be smaller, faster, and way harder to hit.
Yeah. Essentially, rather than just taking out everything, it'll target a more anti-infantry or whatever. But we'll see with time. See what happens.
Well, the bombs go through buildings too, so I could imagine if you do a really good strafe, it'll kill everything inside of Jumptown.
Well, we haven't even got that yet. So what's it going to be like when you drop a bomb on a player built or even just an outpost? Like look at Jumptown right now. Nothing happens to the buildings. If you drop a bomb, do those buildings have to be rebuilt? It can be absolutely devastating. The other part of it is we know shields are going to be a thing in the game, like shield generators, and one of the things that those bombs, apparently the bombs drop so slowly they can go through shields. It's kind of like a little bit like the shields in June. Have you seen June? So blades can move slowly through shields, but they can't at speed because it's all about the kinetic force. They stop kinetic forces. It's the same thing.
Same as the gold technology shields on Stargate.
Yeah, exactly the same.
You shoot an arrow through them, but you can't shoot an energy weapon or a gun through them.
Exactly the same. So basically, you can drop bombs through them, and that's what'll happen is the A2 will come in, and everyone's going to panic and scramble to take out the A2 because it's going to try and take out the shield generator so everyone else can get through. So that's what'll happen, and it's going to be exactly the same thing. And the A1 will do the same thing.
You could see a lot of sleeper units coming in to try and also disable like the ground, like because we haven't got any vehicles that just automate like flak to try and take out bombs that are being dropped either.
To make this in a more simple turn of phrase, it's rock paper scissors. And that's a really core design philosophy you'll see a lot in games. So the A2 and the bombers basically will take out the buildings, but the buildings are defending from the normal fighter stuff, but the normal fighters can take out the bombers. So you can see it's rock paper scissors.
Oh yeah, for sure. 100%. I've seen like firsthand the devastation of an A2. I know it's going to be almost just as bad with an A1. I can feel it in my bones, man. Like I think it's going to be awful.
It's going to be better and worse. And what I mean by that is you've got a lighter, quicker ship that it's easier to kill. But if it can get in and can hit the target, it's deadly just in a different way if you think about it. So like I said, it's probably going to be way more susceptible to be taken out. But if you can get in and get that bomb where it needs to go, we'll put it this way: if you had, rather than having 5 crew members on an A2, would you rather 5 independent A1s? That changes it. That makes it more equal, because you could take 3 of them out. You could take 3 of them out on the way in, but the last 2 get there and they hit the target.
Yep.
Again, there'll be a time where you want to take the A2 because you got to look at what the enemy's got. It becomes that what they have is what I want to take a counter to what they have. So it might be the intel. You have intel that tells them that they have a bunch of ballistas, right? So therefore, you'll take something else that counters the ballistas. You get where I'm going with this. So a lot of it will be intel and scouting that'll change the makeup of what you take into a fight.
Yep. Yeah. Like you said, again, rock paper scissors. It's just you need to cover what you've used to cover yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there is
question.
There is. I was going to say there's no perfect ship in this game, because a lot of the ships, not only can they change weapons, like, so you can have a ship and depending on the weapons you take, it makes it great for a situation, but also the ship itself can change the situation. That's the great thing about this game, is just how complex it can be. You just don't know what's going to happen. There's no perfect scenario.
The other thing to remember as well is we also don't know how certain weapons and ballistics and bombs and whatnot are going to interact with each other in the future. And like you may be able to disable a Moab by hitting it with a distortion weapon, and it just won't blow up. It'll rearm later on the ground.
And that's just the game. As soon as you step outside the game and you bring in player skill and the ability for other players to work with other players, this is one of the things we talk about. You know, I was saying, Agro and I want to do an episode on other games to play that are like Star Citizen. One of the reasons we talk about that a lot is because, like, so I gave you this example, I've given it to you before, is Ark Survival Evolved, right? You play that game as a tribe, right? And one of the things you do in that game is, one of the big things you got to do is go out and collect metal, right? And you get these people that will just sit there all day, every day, and they'll grind and collect all the stuff. And then you get this other person that shows up for the fun stuff. So you want to know that in Star Citizen as well. You want to know the people that are going to put in the work, and they're going to be there for the fun, the hard work, and the fun stuff. You don't want to play with people that are just turning up to ride on your shoulders from all the work you've done. You know, you want those people that are going to put in the hard yards. Now, they might not be the best shooter in the game. You might get this guy that turns up, but the reason you put up with his bullshit is because he's an insanely good shot. But if he turns up and all he wants to do is the shooting and he's crap at it, and he doesn't do any of the work, well, you're not going to want to play with that person. You know? So what I'm trying to say is, but before, a lot of orgs are going to fall apart because they're great friends, but half of them can't do shit, or they don't want to do shit. So that's the other part of what I'm saying. There's a game outside the game that just people haven't prepared for. And me and Argot have talked about it, because it is definitely coming where, you know, you get these orgs that have been there for 10 years, the game comes out and just all falls apart and they split up because they didn't play games with each other beforehand, and all of a sudden they just don't get on. So that's a whole nother outside the game component. And that's why we want to do that episode, long story short. Sorry if I've waffled on, but yeah.
No, that's fine. That's a good one. So Shinobi Trip asks, I think it's meant to be, am I crazy, or is data running, or is a data running variant of the Terrapin viable?
I would say that the Terrapin could be a data runner, but it already has computers and that on it, so it's not really built for that, but I guess you could. The one variant I think we've got that's coming, though, is that search and rescue variant they talked about, because it was shown off in the Jax McCleary ad. And the only other one that we've heard about that was in law was the dropship variant, which I'd assume, you tell me if you think I'm wrong here, would add a second door, so it opens on both sides.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, like
I'd like to see a bigger variation between variants, to use the word twice, sorry, but like excluding interiors. I'd like to see the exterior changed up a fair bit too.
Well, I think we're starting
another door or a whole other with a cutter. The newest color leaks.
I think we're starting to see that with some of them now. So it's not just a color change; it's a paint change. We're starting to see some actual effect. Like if you go back to the Warden, I'd love to see some of the engines change. You know, and I think 100%. When we get those gold passes, we'll probably get those. So it's almost like what we're saying with the procedural generation, and then there's like a 30% change just to differentiate. And I'd love to see that on the Vanguard series as a really good example. You know, the Harbinger has got more armor. The Sentinel's got some more e-warfare, so maybe it's got some antennas or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it differentiates. I think that's
different engine tech to deal with, like, you know
how they were talking about ships that I was saying there was an episode that someone wanted us to do about ships that need a rework and how we would do them. The Vanguard is one of those, because those nose guns, they've got to fuck off. They are too bespoke. They just need to be moved off to the wings or some shit like that. That's
very effective though. I'll tell you that much.
They are effective, but like it's one of the only ships in a game that has a custom gun just for it, besides the Ares.
You know what they feel like? I know I haven't really looked up the specs of them, but like from the feel of them, they kind of feel like they're in between a size 2 and a size 3.
Yeah.
And they actually slap when you're on someone. They feel it.
Yeah, they should just take them off the nose and put them under the turret, because the turret's only got size 2s. It's one of the only ships where the turret is weaker than the pilot.
Vanguard's
got 4
Vanguard's got size 3s you can put on it.
Yeah, I said it's one of the only. But 4 size 2s on the nose and a size 5. That's the pilot, and then the turret gun has got 2 size 2s.
All of them should just be upgraded to be able to have size 3 turret guns on the turret.
I don't know.
It would be better for the ship. The problem I don't like about the Connie and the Corsair is because the pilot gets all the fun, and then you're usually staying out of range to stop yourself from getting damaged. Because you've got the range and the firepower. So people who are sitting in the turrets, they're just decorations, man, and they're not having fun. So yeah. Jodomo, he's asking, do you think we'll get Pyro this year or after Invictus next year?
It's when server meshing's done. It really, we haven't really had much updates on server meshing this year at all. It's been kind of like all quiet on the Western Front, so to speak, and there are a lot of stuff hands-on for Squadron 42. They're doing a shit. You can read it all in the monthly reports. They're polishing the shit out of stuff. So yeah. It's
There'll be static server meshing
when they don't
too.
talk about it. How do you judge how it is? You know, you just got to connect.
Last I heard.
Yeah, you got to connect a lot of Last I heard, you got to connect a lot of dots. It's hard to do. So yeah. It's hard. Anyway,
to play a guy in Twitch chat here, Akesh K said you should deploy a guy for rocket launcher in the elevator and give it to him Drake style. I'm all about that. I love that.
Yeah.
Shinobi Trip asks another question about data running, because they tend to release a new ship and not update current ships to fulfill a new profession. What manufacturer would you make a data runner?
I'd like
to see a high-tech Origin data runner.
I was gonna say a high-tech one that's like they work with Microtech in conjunction with Origin, in conjunction with Microtech. Like I want to see more collaboration ships, like the Starfarer Gemini, where it's half Aegis, half MISC, things like that. So yeah.
Yes, actually, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to see. The reason I say Origin for a lot of these ships is mainly because I want to see a useful Origin ship.
I really think the only one that we're going to get is a shop ship from Origin. I'll kind of die on that hill for Origin. I think we're going to get because of high end. I know they're working at high end fashion at CIG. For a lot of ladies that want fashion, so we'll more than likely get, like, think about it. If you've got a low end privateer, as in from Drake, a high end one from Origin makes a lot of sense for like restaurants and fashion and stuff like that. And what other high end? So again, if you keep applying
890 jumpsuit.
Yeah, if you keep applying that high, medium, and low, whether it's high, they call it high, medium, and low tech, right? But if you keep applying those 3 levels to almost everything, you see very quickly a lot of the ships fill themselves out. So a high level salvage, a low level salvage. So we've kind of got like Aegis that I'd say is probably in the middle, and then you got Drake at the bottom. So what do we need a high end salvage, and is high end salvage not something that I see as a very glorified job? So you're probably going to only get a medium at best, you know. but other things like shops and clothing and medical. Like look at we've got a low end medical in the Cutlass Red, but then we've got the MISC that's there, and we've got the Apollo that I would say is probably more towards the high end. So we've already got that in other stuff. So again, start to apply that out across, and you start to see very quickly you can kind of work out where they're going, and that seems to be on everything, because we know when you go to a landing zone, as an example, you can have an apartment that's low end or medium end or high end. So it's the same thing, and it will just happen across the board on everything, from vehicles to ships. So, yeah.
I want to clarify though. Like I really enjoy the 350R as a racing ship. I know it's massive, but it's an awesome little ship. And like I'm really looking forward to the 600i rework. But the problem I have with Origin ships is we don't have enough that have a lot of function outside of looking great and flying nice. Like we got some nice racing ships out of them, and that's about it.
When you realize what Origin is it's basically the money sink, right? So if you look at any MMO, they have these things that you can earn and buy that are just ludicrously expensive, but they are just bling bling. Like look at World of Warcraft. I remember there was a mount that you could get for that was a bike with a sidecar, and it cost like 5,000 gold back then. And it was really expensive because this is in the first one, before there was even an expansion, and 5,000 gold was heaps back then. Now it's not so much, but that's how I see Origin. It doesn't really functionally do a lot, but how do you justify a whole 890 jump? It's for role play and basically bling bling.
Right now, yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for the subscription, Close Up Prime, and hello PC Tech. How you doing? Hope you're doing well.
Fly with style 600i. Yeah. I like I said, I don't have anything against Origin. I just want when I am flying one for it to have more of a purpose than looking pretty.
Same with me and Algrid. Me and Algrid have actually said that quite a few times. Like Algrid wants to see some science from Origin. Like he and I have often talked about a high-end medical facility from Origin.
Dude, an 890 medical would be phenomenal. Like a whole ass hospital.
That's literally the variant.
Luxury hospital.
He wants a high-end VIP style hospital. Exactly.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So hopefully, if we don't get that, then maybe what I'm kind of hoping is if you can't get exactly what you want, shops become kind of a bit modular. And so if you want, take a shop and you just put a medical shop in, and so you can kind of custom. So that would make it like a Banner Merchantman could be a hospital, so to speak, because you just put in medical facilities in the shops. I don't know. We'll see where it goes. It's hard to judge.
Or goo beds.
Yeah, it does have the goo beds, doesn't it? I forgot about that. Yeah, true.
I think they're only tier 2 though, by memory.
Wait and see. Maybe it's 2.5 because they're alien.
Could be. Yeah, you'll get taxed on that.
Yep.
Northern Troop has a question. Do you think with the positive reception of Baldur's Gate gives CIG hope in releasing a polished and more innovative game? I personally think even without Baldur's Gate, that's what they're aiming for, man. Otherwise, they would have released it ages ago.
Absolutely agree with you on that one.
They didn't need Baldur's Gate to guide them.
Kind of what I said earlier about like how that journalist was going on about how it set standards too high. I think that guy needs to be taken out because it's stupid. Why should we be wanting more, wanting less? We should always, as humans, be trying to excel and go for higher, further. Was it higher, further, faster, or something like that? Is the saying?
I'd have to ask Kanye, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. All right, next question.
Yep. So, Maria says, "Is there any talk about when we are getting life forms like animals?"
They have been working on a few little things in game, but not that many as of late. So yeah.
I'm looking forward to it a lot. I just don't have any high hopes for any other entities other than like the NPCs we have until after meshing.
Yeah, they've been, I think in the monthly reports they've been working on little things like birds and fish and things like that. They call them bods or something like that. There was a weird name that I hadn't heard before. Something like that, bods or BODs. But yeah.
Damn your username machine says, which would you prefer to see prioritized? More systems to travel to in the short term, or more of the details added to what we have coming in 4.0?
I think details, because it'll roll out to other systems eventually anyway. So, you know, like if they roll out, like just say they roll out Pyro, what is that? It's just more of what we've already got, really. Just
it is another system.
Yeah, it is another system,
anyway.
but what is there? It just makes it we've got to travel further. I want more gameplay and more things to do, you know. And let's be honest, Stanton is a very flushed out system. It's quite big and quite large, you know. All that's really going to happen when you got the more systems is people are just going to spread out. That's all that's going to happen. It's like what happened if we made the Earth twice the size it is? Well, people would just spread out further. Kind of what we do. So yeah.
Retro Gamer says, what if we're in the Matrix and Star Citizen is the real world? What pill do I take again to escape?
The purple one.
Done. I know. I want my goddamn Drake cutter. No, like that a lot.
All right, next question. I think we're getting towards the end of the questions, so we'll probably wrap up shortly. But yeah, thank you guys for the questions. But we got a few left now. All right.
Lot of Hack asks, will we get more in-game events like Blockade be normalized and not just in a weekend or so, but
I think what he's
interchanging events on a daily base?
Yeah, so I think we'll get dynamic events that'll happen all every day and stuff like that. But I think much like most MMOs, most of the action happens on the weekends when most people are home because we live in the real world, you know. So you'll get people that don't have a job or whatever that are during the week that'll do a lot of the earning of the resources and stuff like that, and you know they'll help other people out that are at work and stuff like that. But then on the weekend, when everyone comes home, that's when the action's going to hit, and that's when the raids essentially, like in World of Warcraft, and that happen as well. So it'll be exactly the same thing where most of the action happens on the weekend, and then during the work week, it's all, you know, gathering and stuff like that, you know. So in the first couple,
I can see that.
You know, if a big battle happens on the weekend, so they'll probably do salvage on Monday, Tuesday, and then once that tapers out, they'll probably move back into agriculture and mining and collection of gas and things like that. So they'll collect everything, and then off it goes again. You know, Friday night back into the action.
I could definitely get behind more dynamically timed events where, you know, you could be just chilling out on a Wednesday and all of a sudden, you know, Xenothreat hits. But it's only for like that, you know, 12-hour period, and then it's over. You know, like instead of it being like a week-long thing where it's dragged out, the servers are dying, people are starting to get angry and hating it. Like they could do it more frequently, but nowhere near as long, and I'd be really happy with that. Because people who are truly against it could be like, okay, all I have to do is miss out on my game for 12 hours, where other people who are really into it can be like, oh, that's a pleasant surprise, let's do some Xeno. You know, I'd like to see something like that, but I don't know.
All right, next question. I think we're coming towards the end now.
Yep. Alvin Trooper, question. Will we see a speed buff on the quantum drives for traveling across the system that is hundreds of AU across, or are we sticking with the multi-hour trip across the system?
I think it's got to do... It's one of the benefits of the size of ships. Small ships can go through jump points and take shortcuts to get to there, but going the long way around, the big ships have got the speed. That's how it's weirdly balanced. You know, and then the medium ships,
not just the speed, but the capacity.
Yep, and the ships have, you know, the medium ships have the benefit of having a bit of both. You know, so there is no perfect thing. When everything is not perfect, that's how you know you got a good system. You know, good ships have to have a weakness as well as a strength.
I like flaws in ships. I like it.
It's one of the craziest things. Like we'd have people saying, you know, that's why so many people are in love with the Carrack, because they think the Carrack is the perfect ship. It's not. You know, and I can tell you several reasons why it's not. It's really undergunned for a ship of its size. The pilot doesn't have guns for one. You know, it's designed as an explorer. That ship is not meant to be around other ships. That's why it does so much, because it's designed to take care of itself, right? But by the same token, it's not flush with weapons. It's an explorer, you know? So you put that thing in a fight with a ship of the same size, and let's be honest, there is not many large ships at the moment, right? So essentially, a large ship, I'm going to say right now, and you'll be able to answer this for me, Daily. Do you think a Carrack would beat a Perseus?
No way.
Right there. That tells you my whole point.
Not even close.
They're both large ships. So a Carrack, weakness is combat. 100%. Perseus will absolutely rip a new one in a Carrack, right? And that's the problem. But like people just saw on paper, it does all this shit, and it's got guns. It's amazing. But the problem is, at the end of the day, a Carrack is an explorer. It's not designed to be around other ships, and that's its weakness. It looks strong, but it's not. You know, and it'll be the same with every ship that comes down the line. You know, they'll do what they do really well, but they'll, you know, combat is a part of that rock paper scissors. It's the scissors, you know, and then you'll get a ship that's kind of tanky or armored within combat, and then you'll get a ship that's an outlier like a Nautilus, you know, that's designed to come at combat in a different way. It's the same thing, but you've also got, you know, your industry ship that'll work with you know, as an escort. That's how the combat is designed. They are the guards, you know, and the escorts and the piracy. It's just another part of the gameplay tree. So yeah, they got to work together.
Yeah, I fully agree.
And the Carrack's a weird one there, because the Carrack is just not designed to be around other things. And by the same token, the Odyssey's the same. They're not designed to be other ships.
The way I look at the Carrack in a lot of ways, it's kind of like a mobile home.
Yep.
Like it's self-sufficient. You got all the like utilities that you kind of need to take off and survive by yourself for a while. It's like that mobile home you've got that's got like solar on the roof, and you've got your kitchen and everything that you need to survive out in the road. But the problem with it is tanks exist.
Yep.
You know, and like it's that, I know that's a really obscure parallel to draw, but like that's a thing, man.
Well, I think one of the reasons that Carrack's has a lot of repair facilities and the Odyssey doesn't, as an example, is the Odyssey will get to its destination of the planet or moon or wherever it's going, and it'll be there for such a long time. It's not really traveling places, but the Carrack is constantly traveling, so constantly going through danger, so it needs those repair and medical facilities. Where the Odyssey just needs the medical facilities for the pupil. The ship itself relatively won't be going through dangers, so that's why it doesn't have the repair facilities. But in response to that, instead of having just a little Pisces hangar, it gets a full-blown hangar, and it can kind of change through what it's going to do. You can see how it's all weirdly balanced. It all works out. So, yeah.
Retro Gamer is saying, do you think there'll be games that will become an equivalent competitor to Star Citizen?
Not for a very long time, and probably maybe from CIG itself. You know, or whoever can buy the engine or get access to the engine. And you think about just we all know how much bigger this game is than the normal game. How long does it take to do an asset build like that? A long time. You need a lot of people. So I don't think for the close. Well, you tell me, what do you think is the closest engine you've seen so far to what the Star Citizen can do? And I'd have to say it's Unreal 5. And
it's Unreal.
And it still doesn't do everything at once without load screens that this does.
But here's the thing though, like that's also a large part of how the game was coded and designed, not just because of the engine.
Yep.
Like the next most complex game I can think of outside of Star Citizen, in terms of like in-game mechanics, all the shit you can do and customization, all that stuff, it's damn Tarkov, man. Look at what you can do to a gun on that thing.
Actually, I would disagree. The closest game to Star Citizen right now is Eco. It actually has a lot of the fundamentals of Star Citizen, but it's a lot where Star Citizen is high tech, as in like it's trying to get that high fidelity and everything. Think of like Minecraft for adults. That's Eco, so it's going from the low end approach, and it does have a lot of the similar gameplay trends to Star Citizen. But I do get what you mean from a technical perspective. I would say Tarkov does have the technical. The engine requirements. Specific
example I was thinking of is every single individual gun part is actually separate. So the gun isn't a model. Every single piece of the gun is a model, and it's all attached together and held together in the engine in the game. It's all individually moving parts. When they model when they get a gun and they put it in the game, they take the whole thing completely apart, strip it, thread for everything included, and they size that and put it into the game. They've made Unity do that. That's not the engine that's amazing. That's the coding and engineers behind it. Like that's truly amazing what they've managed to make that engine do for that game. Because prior to things like Tarkov and the Forest, Unity was largely known mostly as like a mobile engine. Like a mobile game engine. And they've turned it into something spectacular. And like it's really opened up a lot of people's eyes as to what's capable if you understand the engine very, very well and are also very, very good at your job. As much shit as I love to hang on BSG for what they do, like got to give them credit, you know? And that's mostly the example I was giving. So you could probably change, like, you could change this game over to Unreal 5, and with the talent these people have and the right knowledge of the engine, they could probably replicate it just as well.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think anyone could potentially do with the engine that they know what Star Citizen has done with this. Again, it comes back to time and tech and money.
Yeah, talent.
Yeah, and talent.
A lot of talent. A lot of talent.
Well, look at CIG themselves. They were struggling with stuff until Crytek stuffed up and didn't pay their staff, and a lot of the people at Frankfurt that left Crytek came to CIG. That's why the Frankfurt studios exist. They were struggling. I almost wonder if they would have stayed with the engine had Frankfurt not came over.
Yeah. Oh, look, I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think we would have the game today that we have if it wasn't for Frankfurt joining them. I think something would have changed. It could have failed, even, you know? So
yeah,
we'll see.
Very likely.
Yeah.
Next question is Lunamaria. In theory, if CSG went under financially and major publishers bidding war started to purchase Star Citizen and Squadron 42 IP, which publisher would you guys think would be the best? Bethesda, just to trigger execute.
No, I'd probably go with Microsoft.
Not even ZeniMax, just Bethesda bought them. Change the whole thing to the creation engine.
They wouldn't. They'd just absorb the tech and probably.
I know. I'm just
let's
trying to get a rise out of here. You're not playing along.
No, because there's no point. Because I know it wouldn't happen. Amazon already kind of own a lot of the tech, so it probably would be Amazon if I had to be honest.
That's very true. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Amazon would probably buy it up. Yep.
I could. Yeah. No, I think you're right there. They probably would.
All right.
And they wouldn't have to pay rights to their own engine, publishing fees, and all that type of stuff. So it'd be really good
and
business acquisition for them.
Yeah. Not to say that there's not already some deal in the background where they're working with them already.
It'd be 10 cents or something. Buy them.
All right. How many
Bring in
questions?
the microtransactions.
I think we're down to what?
What are we at?
A bit over 10 questions, so we'll get those done.
We'll over 10.
We've got about 20 minutes left on the stream. I've already closed the bot down, so no more questions for today, but yeah, we'll answer these ones. And the numbers have really dropped off, so I think a lot of people have headed home from work in the States, so that's all good. But yeah. All right, next one.
Lunamaria says, what happened to the questions? I don't know, man. John Pierce says, questions. Hello, how are you two?
We are well, thank you.
I'm Chris.
That's that's John Citizen.
It's John Citizen?
Yeah, crazy old man. It's all good. We just ignore him as much as possible.
I don't. I love it when he drops into the stream, man. He hangs shit on me as hard as he can. I love it.
Yeah, I know. He loves to banter, that boy. He's good. He's good. All right, next one.
Alrighty. So Wuxtree 2377 clan/org features do you think would be most useful in the game? I know it won't happen for a long time, but I heard a tale that they're apparently going to allow ship sharing between orgs, org members. Way back
when, and I'm talking like 2013, 2014, they talked about having org hangars.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Interesting.
And org 2.0's always been a thing they've talked about too, but that's never eventuated, but will eventually. I think orgs will be they've talked about this integration with Spectrum and all this type of things. I'm going to tell you right now, Spectrum's never going to get to where it needs to go until they enable downvote errors. I think
downvoting.
The biggest problem with Spectrum is downvote errors. Until they put that in, it's just never, like, people are just going to go around it until they put it in. If you don't make it the same fully feature set as other forums, people will use other forums, whether it's Discord or whatever. So they can put these walls in place to say, yes, you have to use our system, but people will go around it if they don't like said system. And that's the problem. Like, I don't know about you, but when's the last time you went to Spectrum? Do you go there every day? I don't go there every day. I don't go there. I go there probably once every 6 months.
Only when I feel like popcorn, man.
That's about it. And you read 2 or 3 posts and get aggravated and leave.
No, I just sit there, giggle, and eat my popcorn. Like it's. So Wowderhack's asking, imagine Squadron comes out, everyone loves a single player game and buys themselves a ship, but then they find out that the normal servers aren't up to par. Will they stay or leave soon after?
I think so. One of the theories me and Aragod have had for ages is that we think the theaters of war, or whatever that mode ends up being called, we think that is a multiplayer bridge gap. So it's going to come out with Squadron 42, and it's a multiplayer component. Then they can also go, oh, so this is a taste of what Star Citizen will become. That's what we believe.
I also think that like they'd be doing a lot of very hard work to try and get server meshing out and working before Squadron 42 is in full release, hopefully. And that way the servers will be able to handle the expected load. If they're not doing that, then they're crazy. Like that is something that absolutely should be priority.
I think you're right there as well. So people can come out and say, this is the Squadron 42, this is the multiplayer that's possible, this is really where we want to take it, so you can at least see the potential of it. And I think you're right there. I think that is why they want to get server meshing out before Squadron 42 gets out the door, so it's all at least a lot more stable and optimized than it is now. A good foundation to build off.
Luna Maria asks, they'll ask us for a question and don't answer them. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Just takes time to go through the questions, man. They're all in a list. We don't answer them instantly. We make sure we do every single person's questions and that they're not answered. We have a custom bot that pulls them out. So most streamers will just literally leave them as they come up on the screen, and if they miss one, they miss one. It allows us to answer the questions more detailed and take our time, essentially.
Yep. And also, if you put Execute and I in the same room, we talk like two old hags that haven't seen each other for 40 years. So you'll have to excuse that.
Absolutely.
So I always forget what the question was. That's a follow-up. That's why we read them out before we say them. Okay, so Retro Gamer has another one. Do you think Squadron 42 could link into Star Citizen in terms of your character carrying over rep and etc.?
They've talked about that. They have. They've talked about it. Originally, the plan was like you could actually drop out of Squadron 42 at any point and start playing the game. So you could be like dishonorably discharged, so to speak. But I think that's kind of changed now. They just want you to finish Squadron 42, and it gives you access to certain things within Star Citizen. I think it's changed a little bit. But yeah,
will that feature come out on launch? Maybe not.
No.
But we might get that still, being able to just drop straight out and jump into the other one.
I think everything is down the road in priority. Like how much is it really a priority that you can play into the second chapter and drop out? And that's how. No, it's not. It's just not a priority at all. You know, when there's so much other stuff that needs to be put in place of it. And I think that's literally will be Star Citizen in a nutshell for the next 10 years. It'll be
entirely be
what gives us the most bang for buck. You know, do I put 1 month of worth of work in here and it benefits 90% of the players, or do I put in that tiny little feature over here that takes 1 month of work but only benefits 3 people?
What I was also thinking too, right, is we don't know exactly how they're going to do rep with the UEE. Maybe it is through the single player campaign at the start, just as like a 0.0
gives you a massive boost.
Iteration.
Absolutely. That would be a very easy way to do it. Yep, absolutely agree with that. You finish the campaign, you come out at level 10. If you only get halfway through, you come out at level 5. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Or if you lose some rep, you can go back and grind some like single player game loops, build your rep back up, go back in. Like maybe that is a thing.
Yeah, maybe you only get halfway through the campaign and come out at level 5, and you can just manually do it to level 10 afterwards. Yeah, absolutely. That's a real simple way to do it. Yep, absolutely.
That would give me a serious amount of incentive to play the single player game.
Yep.
And that's what I need to like force myself to go and do that.
Absolutely.
Trevor Nelson has a question. I want to get some ships, but I've heard CRG's funding is down this year. What's your thoughts on putting money in now as someone who wants to help the game and see it succeed?
They're actually not. It's actually not down. It's just it's meant to be behind where it is, but it should still surpass next year, as in last year. Sorry,
previous year.
Yeah, it's down, but it's not less.
The year's not done.
So they were expecting like say 20% growth, and it might only be a 5% growth. That's why it's down. Down from expectations is what it should say. Yeah.
But who's to say that we won't get some phenomenal sales between the best in show competition and also the next, you know, we've also got 2 events coming up after this, 2 major events with
the number of ships on the roadmap is a shit ton at the moment. And I will say though, a lot of them appear to be variants, but that is even then. So say normally they bring out 5 ships, but if they bring out 10, but they're variants, are you going to care?
Well, look at unannounced ships. They sell phenomenally.
Yeah.
They got like 5 of those things right now that are working on behind the scenes.
But
Like
we
unannounced ships,
believe,
they drop and everyone's like, oh, we need it.
but we believe they're variants.
That's
Right.
fine.
So to give an example, we know that Cutters haven't got 2 variants coming out. We know they're working on vehicle, like 2 unannounced vehicle. One of the rumors flying around that I've heard, right, and this is a complete rumor, so do not go off. Apparently, there's a rumor of a salvage mule flying around. I'll believe it when I see it. But
Yeah. But like, here's the thing. Even though it may be a variant, unannounced ships sell very well.
Yep. Well, look at the medical Pisces. Holy shit, that changed the game, and that's a variant. You know,
it's actually one of my favorite ships, and it's so simple and easy. It's just a great ship. But yeah,
and it's low hanging fruit for CIG too, because it gives you a whole different gameplay. And one of the really cool things is by having variants, not only can you do them quickly and efficiently, and like I said, as long as they make them look a little bit different, you get more cross-pollinated gameplay. So look at medical. Medical has a lot of ships in there at all these different points. Now, originally they were looking at 1 for every slot. They've already got more than that, because the Pisces now takes us into the Pisces literally treads on the Cutlass Red, but it's a snub, and it's also small.
I actually don't really like the Cutlass Red in terms of its inner design.
You're missing my point. My point is that we had one in every category, and now we've got more than 1 in every category. We still haven't even got the vehicles yet. There's definitely going to be an ambulance at some point.
Has to be.
And then we're probably going to get multiples as well. Again, once you start leaning into it, I'd fully expect not just the 4. So it's technically 5 categories, because you've got capital, large, medium, small, vehicle. So there's the 5. And then on top of that, you can also lean into low, medium, and high tech. So you fill that out, that literally becomes 15 things in one subcategory, if they wanted to, right? But at the moment, they go sideways. So right now, let's look at the, you got the Vulture at the low end tech of salvage, and you've got the Aegis Reclaimer at the medium capital size. So you can see that they're going to cross-pollinate across that grid. You might not get all 15, but you might get a combination of them. But we've got things like the Cutlass and the Pisces treading on each other. But I'd say the Cutlass Red is low tech, and I would say, what would you say, Anvil is medium or high? You see where I'm going with this very quickly. There's going to be cross-pollination. And by using variants, they can do that a lot quicker than they are now.
So I want to jump back to the question, though, because our tangent didn't answer it for him, and it sounds like a pretty important... No, I'm just saying, it's a pretty important question. First of all, I'm going to make Luna Maria happy and say go buy 7 Endeavors. But
all you need is a starter ship. That's all you need. You know,
if you want to help fund the game and buy ships, the biggest thing is what do you like to play?
And even more than that, wait for a free fly. There will be a free fly around ship Showdown really soon.
Yep.
You can get a referral and that, and with Citizen Con and AIA after that, you could probably pick up one of the starter variants of the Cutter as an example, and just play off that. You get it with LTI. You'll get a copy of Star Citizen. You can probably even get a combo pack and get Star Citizen and Squadron 42, and it'll probably cost you $100.
Looks like here the question is stating that they have a ship, but they want to buy more to support the game.
You don't need to buy more. But if you want to, go nuts. You know, it's up to you. And the usual chain of affair has been things like Cutter, Avenger, Cutlass, and then after you go after Cutlass, you start going to more niche. So find the gameplay that you like. Go in game, talk to other people, and say, you know, if someone's got a ship you want to try, I guarantee you, almost anyone you ask will let you try their ship, because they've done everything with it. They want to see your reactions with it. So, you know, and if you can't find someone, ask a streamer like myself or Noob or content creator. They will go out and help you, you know. But yeah, don't just go out and buy it blindly. Do a little bit of research and try it out in game first. And half the gameplay right now, you've only got of what we think it's going to be. What's you know, mining is just a taste, salvage just a taste. But what's medical going to be? What's science going to be? You can only speculate at the moment. So again, you're just going on, you're only going on feel, and that's really hard to do.
most important is to remember that like 3 to 4 times a year, there's some pretty epic sales that happen.
Yep.
It's absolutely worth waiting. If you got like a lot of money, you could spend that lot of money on the standard ship price and get a ship. Or you could wait until there's sales on, build up CCU chains. There's so many great sources for you to learn how to do that and save tons and tons of money. And also a really good educational place to figure out ships, what they do, what their value is, how to earn down from them and stuff like that. Is watch Fix My Fleet. That's where I learned a lot of stuff. So if I give you misinformation, blame execute.
Yep.
All right, next.
Real quick before we move on, the last thing I'll say though is make sure your actual computer hardware is up to snuff so you can actually play Star Citizen before you start putting money into Star Citizen. I've seen people do that. They're like, oh yeah, my computer's 4 years old. I own 4 Krakens and an Idris, but they don't own like a modern day graphics card. So yeah, make sure your hardware's up to snuff before you put money into the game. Put it into your computer first.
Absolutely. Great thing, yeah. And Red Samurai, that's the last question, is what do you think of Star Citizen implementing boats for water gameplay? Thoughts? I've heard from a few people that a lot of these ships are meant to be able to float, the ones that we have.
Some of the Origin ships are designed like yachts, and they've also talked about boats coming in the future. It's just not a priority because it's not in Squadron 42. It's that simple. Again,
sure, the Turing 600i has a glass bottom in it, so you can look down into the ocean.
But again, when Squadron 42 is the priority, there's just boats are not a priority at the moment. That they will get boats when they have a team to build Star Citizen, and you know the first boat.
You just have to wait 2 years for water tech.
Yep.
Not even joking.
Yeah, it's just a priority. You gotta realize when humans are a finite resource to work on things. That's the other thing. People just don't see it. They see it like it's this game and it's just a timer that fills up. It's not how real life works. You know, everything's got a process and it stops and starts. It's like traffic. You know, some places traffic is very organized and it just flows. Other places it is an utter nightmare. Like give an example. Here in Australia. Traffic runs fairly smoothly. You can go 50 Ks in, what'd you say, 15, 20 minutes, you can go 50 Ks if you're in a fast car and you know what you're doing. I've been to countries like Indonesia where it took me 5 hours to go 25 Ks. That's
just depends on whether you see them as speed laws or speed suggestions.
But you get you get the point. I'm talking about infrastructure. I'm not talking about like the speed of the car. I'm really talking about infrastructure. So different places do it in different ways. And it's the same thing with game development. We do not know the infrastructure of CIG's makeup. They're also working across 5 studios in different, or more than 5 studios now, across the globe. They stop and start development as one team's going to bed. They've got to kind of get up and explain things, what they were doing to the other team and move on. And and
it's like, it's pretty wild when you think about what they've actually accomplished between so many like split studios and different time zones and everything like that, because like man, I've seen how some businesses have operated during COVID and they are local to each other. They're just split up between houses, you know, people aren't and like it can really put a halt in some of the work. Some people and some businesses operated smoother doing that. I know a lot of them didn't.
Some of them have changed their processes, you know, of how they're doing things. So
absolutely. But yeah, it's actually pretty fantastic to see what they've done, especially like during COVID hype. You know, it's nuts.
Yeah,
definitely slowed down, but it didn't stop, and that's the main thing.
This is true. I'm trying to find someone to raid that I know. I'm thinking of Cobra. I don't think I've raided Cobra before. He's not normally online at this time of day, so I think we'll take the opportunity to raid him on Twitch.
That's great.
Just gonna copy him over. So raid, cool. So you guys on Twitch. We will have a video this weekend. Hopefully, I'll find out what the hell's going on with Algrid and get that sorted. But yeah, we'll get an episode up to you guys as well. So YouTube people, say goodbye to the people on Twitch. Goodbye Twitch. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon. And ask Cobra for me why he's in Crash lately. Ask him that for me. All right. Bye.
All right.
All right, Twitch is gone. You guys on YouTube, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. We really appreciate your help.
They're nearly at 1,000.
Yes, we'll see.
Oh no, that's on Twitch. Go over to Twitch, make a Twitch account, and follow them.
Yeah. All right. With that, then, thank you for joining us. I've been Execute. He's been Daily Noob, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.